Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special Monday Night America. Yeah, I know we weren't on last week. I'm getting old, just got to put it out there. But we're back, we're prepped, ready to go, and we already have quite a few people catching on with us. And sorry, I'm playing with my cord. I'm trying to make sure I get it, so I'm not going to get tangled up and have an ugly event happen online. But you know me, you know him, Michael Day, and you know our guest of honor. As you know, this really isn't an interview, folks. This is really more of a conversation, and we're going to get to it. Bobby Nash, welcome once again, young man, for joining us. It is a pleasure. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And before we went live, got to give him a shout out. Jason Waltman. Hey, Bobby.
How's it going, Jason?
And by the way, Jason, we saw that just before we went live, so we did point it out. We said this is going to be one of the first things we're going to get to right now. Michael, good evening. How are you? I already cut you off. What a shock.
Yeah, what a shock. Yeah, I'm not surprised. No, I'm doing well. I actually had an interview earlier this afternoon. So this is my second time live today. So, woo.
You had an interview? You were interviewed?
I did.
Did you clear that? Not that there's any association between us, but did you clear that with NDB Media Legal?
Well, I did. And then I saw that post from Patty, and that just threw me all off. So.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Josh has another comment. I'm here for moral support for Bobby Nash. Whoa, I guess
I'll take all I can get.
Is this Bobby? Did we beat you up last time that you were on with us?
I mean, we did. We did.
Jason is just very supportive. He, he likes a lot of our comments on and posts on Facebook, and we talk quite a bit there. He and I share a love of the character Domino Lady, and that was kind of what we bonded over. We both had this great love for Domino Lady. So.
Oh, that's absolutely awesome. And what a profile shot or a background shot of the stuff. We're going to get to it. I think we did it last time. And welcoming us is probably one of the icons in Star Trek fandom. Look at that right there.
Michael?
Yes, Michael Bednar. Good evening, Michael. If Michael would like to join us, all he has to do is let Mr. Day or I know, and we'll send him the link, and he can come and join us in this conversation. But before we go any further, as I mentioned, folks, we hadn't been on for a week. We just didn't. And now we're back. We have Bobby Nash on with us today. His website is in the crawl at the bottom. He'll correct me if I'm wrong. And that's it. It'll take you to his website. You can find him on Amazon.com as well as Ben Books. And I'm going to put those links up in just a moment.
Yeah, ben-books.com is my indie publishing company.
Unlike last time, Bobby, I'm a tad more prepared. I have the links there. And then, of course, I would say in Spanish, I have the Herga link for the Amazon.com one right there. And we have quite a few people joining us now. Folks, let us know who you are and where you hail from. Where we have people on our Facebook page, Michael Day, mine, our NDB Media page. Folks, it's really cool. It's really fun having you on with us. And that's what makes this even worthwhile, the engagement with everyone. And Jason does say, or maybe I should say, greeting from the red shade. All right, clue us in.
That's his character. That's a character that he writes.
Oh, excellent. All right, fair enough. And 4 minutes in it? No. All right.
But 4 minutes, Michael. We exhausted him after 4 minutes. That was just it. It was like 4 minutes of dealing with us. I was done. Yeah.
Yeah, it is on the East Coast. Now, you're on the East Coast as well.
I am on the East Coast, yes.
Fair enough, as is Michael. So I'm the lonely soul on the West. Before I think, as I mentioned, it's going to be a conversation, folks. I think last time it was a little bit more of an interview, but Bobby, it's whole hat now. Mm-hmm. We want to talk about a lot of stuff that you have going on, and you'll guide us in those directions. But before I go to Michael to prompt one, you've been to several conventions as of late. 2 questions. Mm-hmm. Which ones, and how awesome is it to be able to get back out again, buddy?
Oh my God! After almost 2 years of no conventions, it has been quite nice. I've done mostly local. I live right outside of Atlanta, so I've done mostly local events. All except 2 have been one-day shows. The big one that hurt me is I did have to miss Dragon Con this year, and I have not missed it. I've been to every Dragon Con since 1989, so it's very hard to miss one.
Oh,
But there was just some family stuff that had to take precedence, so I missed that. But I've done a bunch of small shows. We have the Atlanta area. We have some one-day comic shows. I did that. I did one in Charlotte. I did the Charlotte Comic Con one-day show. I did just yesterday. I was in. Not yesterday, Saturday. Today is Monday. Yeah, Saturday I was in Dalton for the HalloCon, which is a Halloween con that happens every year. I went up for a day, and I did Jordan Con. I did Monsterama. Monsterama was a big fun. It was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Hi, Ryan. And that one was good. It was MonsterCon and SpyCon, which is 2 cons that have merged together, and they do them the same weekend. So on the one hand, we're talking, classic monsters and, things like that to any kind of monster movies and beasts and creatures. And then we go over here and we talk about James Bond for a little while. So, yeah, it was big fun. I had a great time because I was on both tracks, because I am a big monster fan. I've written my share of monsters, but I also, I'm also a big like spy and PI fan. So, the snow stuff is kind of that spy feel to it, and so I did a lot of panels, and it was fun. I had a great time. So, and then so I've done some one-day shows like that. I only have 2 things left for the year. I have Kusacon is a new show. It's in Rome, Georgia, this coming Saturday. It's a one-day show that I agreed to do 2 years ago, and it's been postponed for 2 years. So because obviously the apocalypse happened, and so I'm doing that, and then I'm doing a little local event at a winery later this month. This winery is doing this arts and creativity event called Mimosas and Makers, and so they are going to they're bringing in like craft people that do crafts, people that do art, people that do various things, and so I'm going to set up at that. So I'm curious to see how that goes.
And is that the first time they've done this, you said? Or
that's the first time they've done this one. I've done similar events at other things. I've done in the last few years before, everything shut down, there were more places getting into doing little one night or one day creative events where I've done them I did one in a brewery. I've done a couple of them in like barbecue restaurants. We've done several events in bars, and so there's been more places getting into the act of bringing authors in to do readings or whatever, during the week, or and then sell books, and the venue makes money because they're hoping we'll bring people in that will either eat or drink or so yeah. So it was really cool. Like I said before, everything shut down. There was a lot of that going on, so it's very nice to see that starting back up because I do love getting out and doing those type of things. Although I will say, the 2 years being at home, I was more productive the last 2 years than I was before because I was home every weekend. Yeah, it's amazing what you can get done when you're home.
You just took advantage of the circumstances.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, because before the pandemic and everything started shutting down, I was doing easily 2 to 3 events a month. So that was 2 to 3 weekends. You were
gone.
Yeah, but it's also a very important part of what I do. I mean, getting out and no matter what kind of creativity stuff you're in, if you're doing it as a job, promoting is a big part of your what you do. Because no matter how good you are, you still got to point people towards your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I find that doing events and getting out and talking to people is a good way is one of my better strengths at getting, the books in front of people. So
that's good stuff, Bobby. I appreciate that. And we already have a question from Ryan, and this is to one of the projects you have going. What's the plan? 5-year, 10-year?
Well, Snow, we really have focused, one of the things that having the extra time has done with Snow, and Snow is a book that I created and I publish it through Ben Books, my own company. Book number 6 will be out before the end of the year. It is currently in edits. So as soon as I get the edits back and get those done, it'll go into production. I invited several authors that I know to write snow short stories. That we call them snow shorts. We release them as 99-cent ebooks, and then we collect them as we get 3 together. We'll collect it in a paperback and do an audio and all that stuff. And so there's probably been more snow material released this year than any other year previous. And I'm hoping to keep that going. I'm already working on book 7. I have plans. I have loose plots up to about book 9. I'll keep writing them as long as people keep buying them. And, it'd be awesome to one day like turn on Amazon Prime or Netflix and see a snow TV show. That would be awesome. So if anybody knows anybody, that'd be a good 5-year, 10-year plan. But really the main plan is just to keep writing and keep getting them out there and try to build the audience and grow the audience. And that's what I'm working toward.
I actually do. I do know someone. I know he was an executive in Hollywood, but old classmate. We've been in contact and stuff. And he posted on his site that he's, hey, check this Netflix project that I'm involved in. And it was a pretty big project. So I'm gonna see if I can nonchalantly tag him in on this one.
Yeah, because
a classmate from many years ago.
Yeah, because I get it out there and I do the, like I said, you try to get stuff out wherever you can, and I do, I try to, because you have to reach where the audience are, and social media is great, but you can't just social media, because of the algorithms, so few people see it, and so I'm trying, you try to get it out wherever you can, and it's tough, but yeah.
Of course, Jason says you're going to blame it on Herbie.
Herbie is my muse.
Yep.
Herbie the Muse. I bought this little Funko Pop thing. Herbie was from the Fantastic Four cartoon back in the 70s. Yeah. Best $10 I ever spent. Because I've gotten so many posts out of Herbie. He's my muse now. He's always berating me. I have this, I'll take pictures. I bought this little, chalkboard. He writes me notes like you should be writing, and like this one says "back to work, you bum." And so
I see.
I take Herbie on trips with me. He goes to cons with me. People come up and want their picture taken with Herbie. They don't care about me. It's it's become a thing.
Okay, first of all, Ryan says, going back to the program possibility that he'll do it for free. Dude, don't do that. It's already here forever. Redo it. At least Jason said you'll do it as a dead body. And, of course, we have it. David, thank you for joining us. Yes. And then Ryan says, what's your plan for, and I'm going to butcher that one in my very tired state that I'm in right now.
NaNoWriMo.
Yes, NaNoWriMo. Excellent. What is that?
I don't do NaNoWriMo. You guys know what NaNoWriMo is, right?
Sure.
NaNoWriMo is...
I'll admit I do not.
It is the National November Writing Month. I think that's what it is. National November Writing Month. Yeah, that's what it all stands for.
Wow.
During the month of November, it is a challenge for people who want to do NaNoWriMo to write the first draft of a novel in 30 days. That's their goal, is to write a 50, 60,000 word novel in 1 month. And so I do that all year long. So so setting it aside, for just 1 month doesn't work. Because that's my every month. So but a lot of people do that, and they do it in November, and a lot of people get really good. They can get quite a bit done in a month. The trick that most people need to remember that month is not you don't have a finished novel. You have a finished first draft. So you have to then work on it after November. Excuse me, and try to to polish it up and get it ready to be sent out.
And Herbie reminds you of that.
Yeah. Herbie wants to Herbie keeps me busy. Yeah, Herbie won't let me goof off as much as I'd like, so, which
We
is
have another
good. You know,
comment.
Whatever keeps me focused and working. I'll take it.
Yes, definitely works. David Mack says hello, and we have several likes already from David Mack and Billy Swanson. Thank you. And either it'll all be back, trust me, or here it comes. What's a favorite movie quote you use in everyday life? And for those listening, can you quote the 3 movies? There's one. I just made them up, all 3. I'll be back, here it comes, and trust me.
I do like to use I don't like to lose a lot.
Oh, yes.
That one's one. And I have on occasion from that same very movie he tasks me. I use those a lot. But yeah.
How funny. One of my quotes is from the same one.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually my sister's favorite quote, which I didn't think was it's cool, but it's not the one that I would use. I don't like to lose. Yeah, that whole, I have that whole scene memorized, man. It is just absolutely awesome.
I have a friend of mine and I that we've made the point that that every conversation we have, there's some quote from that movie makes it into the conversation.
Wow.
It's become a thing.
That's a special friendship.
Yeah.
Even Mike and I will not do that one. But Michael, since you're the one a tad quiet right now, could you guess the 3 quotes that I threw and the one that Bobby threw out? Oh, come on.
Michael's
I don't like to
I
lose.
wasn't listening.
I don't like to lose. Come on, folks. What is it? I don't like to lose.
Oh, I should be eating an apple as I say that.
Oh, okay. That will definitely give it away. Here it comes. And, think about it. Let's see. Ryan says, I use a quote. Whoa, this is heavy from Back to the Future. Actually, that one did enter America's lexicon for a while, didn't it? This is heavy. It did. It was really cool. In the early 80s, Bobby, I'm sure you remember. I'm not sure if Michael, because he was in academia. But remember, it was "Trust Me" in the late 70s, early 80s. Eddie Murphy used that one. Of course, Harrison Ford, Han Solo. I mean, give me a break, man. Oh, that was another one, but that's a TV show. Folks, for those of you that know and don't know, here it comes. It's where Spock just puts in the input code and then fires. Of course, his is also from the Wrath of Khan, which is a great line.
I don't like to lose. I love that because he gets up, he takes a bite of the apple. Yeah, I don't like to lose.
Yep. Oh, it's great. But the look on Savick, because she just doesn't get it, but she's learning. It's important, Marion. Trust me. Very good. Harrison Ford. It was in Star Wars, the Star Wars movies, as well as Indiana Jones.
Yep.
And in Indiana Jones, it was really, really cool. Trust me. I think that was really more of a... Would it be a Harrison Ford or the characters that he portrayed? I think it was their line, huh?
Probably. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, like I said, I know he used it. He used it in more than one character, so you never know.
And what a charmed life on a tangent. Think about it, folks. A thespian will be known for one major role their entire life, maybe 2 if they're lucky. But Harrison Ford has obviously Han Solo, Indiana Jones, and even to a lesser extent, Jack Ryan. It's like, come on, man!
Hey,
it's almost unfair.
Yeah. Yeah, some of those guys do it really well, but I will say this: he's earned it because all those characters are firmly entrenched. Whether you've seen those movies or not, you know who those characters are.
Oh my goodness, yes. And folks, we're well into the program. Our special Monday Night America here. Of course, our guest Bobby Nash, and I'm here with Michael Day. Of course, I'm Roger Noriega. Thank you for joining us. We missed you last week. It was really more of a scheduling. Michael and I, Michael acquiesced when I told him, yeah, I'm not doing Monday night. He was like, well, okay.
Yeah, I was out of town, so
actually, it really was.
Yeah. Every once in a while you need just to recharge the batteries. And
oh boy, Bobby, am I in one of those right now? Folks, for those of you that follow me on, actually, some people think I've been dead the last 2-3 days because there's been zero activity. Folks, I'm a civil servant. I work for the county of Los Angeles, and there's a disaster going on in Carson. There are some chemicals being, well, they still don't know everything yet, but it's bad. There's an odor. It is horrible. And I was involved in some of the disaster relief efforts. It is not about me. It is about them. I'm exhausted. I've done about 36 hours in the last 2 days. I'm a tad tired. That's all. It's not about me. It's about the residents that are suffering because they have to deal with that stuff. But I was involved. I told Bobby I woke up at about 6 p.m. today, an hour before the program. So I'm feeling it. As soon as Bobby came on screen, I went from whining to Michael to just being pepped up. I thank you for that. But anyway, we're going to continue. Ryan says, any Smallville memories, Bobby, from the series?
I enjoyed that series. I remember, I haven't seen it since it's gone off the air, but I do remember enjoying that. I remember thinking that the casting, I thought the use of John Schneider and Annette O'Toole as his parents was inspired casting, because every other attempt at Superman stories, his parents were always old. I mean, like really old compared to him. And so having parents who were, in their 40s, I thought was an interesting dynamic, and I thought they played it. They were just both really great in those roles.
So, there was no accent in Smallville. Smallville went what, 10?
10 or 11, yes.
10 seasons, yeah.
Was it 10? Yeah. And it was really fun seeing the, Clark and Lana from Clark and Lois from that show appeared in the crossover, the Crisis crossover they did. So it was really cool seeing them again, and yeah.
And he had decided to give up his powers, and Lex Luthor comes, and he just says, "Go away."
Yeah, I love the little bit though. He's like, he tries to punch him. He catches you. I'm still pretty strong though. Yeah, good stuff. It was a fun show. I remember enjoying it quite a lot. Yeah.
It's funny that Michael mentions that. I saw something on YouTube within the last year about that scene at the end of Superman, the second Superman, the 1982 or 83 one. Forgive me, but he goes back up to that place up north, and he kind of beats the guy up. It was revenge.
Yeah.
I don't know, folks, and I want to get to this question because first of all, Jason, that's cool. I like the question. I'm going to ask Bob to answer that one right now. But before that, and that's why I thought about it, about an IHOP. When he goes back, this guy did this whole thing about this is not Superman. He's taking revenge. It's not right, whatever. I don't know. I saw it in the theater live, and I've seen it ever since. I love that, man.
Well, I mean,
the guy was a jerk.
I mean, for all of that Superman is, I mean, he being the alien and all that, he was raised as a human guy. He's a guy like anybody else who, can have those, has those feelings. And yeah, I didn't, if he'd have gone and killed him or something, I would have had a problem with it. But just kind of putting the guy in his place, yeah, I didn't have a problem with that.
That's what he did. He put him in his place. Because he went back. Yeah, he baited him a bit, but it wasn't that difficult because the guy thought he was a 3-minute steak, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, whatever. It was really cool. But it was a good tangent. Forgive me. Jason, I wonder if Bobby could be 3 people at IHOP at 3 a.m. and who would it be? That's a cool question, man.
That is a good question. Wow. And it's one I don't have a good answer for.
Maybe you could add that to one of your books in a dream sequence.
Well, certainly, I mean, if you're talking fictional characters, I certainly like, there are certain characters I've fallen in love with. It would just be cool to sit. And I imagine sitting at 3 a.m. in an IHOP with Domino Lady and Harry Bosch and, I don't know, Thomas Magnum would be a really cool conversation, If you're talking real people, I don't know. That's a
That
tough
is
one.
very difficult.
I'll have to get back to you on that one. I'm not really sure, but it would probably be 3 creative people because I would want to sit and just either talk writing or talk goofy or nerdy or geeky stuff. You know.
Bobby, I've been doing a sports program for about 13 years now, and I was asked recently, within the last 2.5 years, who are on my Mount Rushmore.
Mm-hmm.
So akin to that, I'm working on it, man. I don't have an answer. Who would be my 4 figures on Mount
Right.
Rushmore?
Right, because if
And
you're anything like me, it would change from day to day. You know, what I'm feeling today, these people, next week I might be feeling a little different. And so it would be these
okay,
people. Yeah. So,
all right, that's fair.
but
But
yeah, it would definitely be people that I could, because I do enjoy getting together with people and sitting and just geeking out over stuff we enjoy. I mean, it's kind of like what we're doing here. I mean,
it's our
and,
privilege.
yeah, it's, sitting around and talking about things we enjoy. And yeah, I love doing that.
Now, Bobby, we brushed on it. We mentioned it's on your website today. I have Ben Books, ben-books.blogspot.com. Is that correct?
Or .com. You can go ben-books.com. We'll get you there too.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to correct that one in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
That one's
that does
good.
work, but yeah.
That one's good, but I want to get the other one in there right now. And folks, if you want to go to I apologize. If you want to go to his main website, of course, has the links to everything. Go there, BobbyNash.com. And on your site today, you issued another chapter to your latest novella. I believe
Oh,
it's Cold Snap. You want to get to that one real quick?
Lance Starr is a character he's a new pulp character that I've worked on for years. There are currently like 4 anthologies, like 4 or 5 different short stories, a comic book. If you you can see the cover up there on the wall. It's really small, but sorry, I was pointing to the computer like you could see me, but it's over there. And so what I'm doing is I've been working on this novel. This is a full-length Lance Starr novel that I've been working on for years, but I kept putting it to the side for other work. And so I talked with the publisher and I was like, I have a plan. Let's just get it done. So I'm releasing it a chapter at a time on Patreon, a chapter a week. Although the last 2 weeks I've been doing 2. Excuse me. And but a chapter a week, and we're going to tell the story, and it's helping me to get it finished. Because anything I didn't have a deadline tends to be slid aside, and so I'm trying to stop doing that. So this is helping me to it's an extra book to get finished. So I'm doing that. It helps me keep focused on getting the book done. It also gives the patrons can act as beta readers. So if as they read a chapter, if something confuses or they don't like something, I can get that instant feedback while I'm working on it. And so plus it gives the people that are patrons, patrons are giving me money, it gives them content. And I try to run two books concurrently. So right now I just posted chapter 8, which is the 9th chapter, because all of my books that I do myself start with a chapter with no number, like an opening teaser chapter. So I'm doing Lance Starr. Lance Starr is a character that's a new pulp character. He's a pilot. Think if Indiana Jones was a pilot, and he set during the World War II era. And in this particular novel, we're well into World War II, and they're set in the Nazis have built a secret weapon in the Arctic Circle. And a pilot was sent in to get information so they could stop it. And that pilot is shot down and captured. And he's a friend of Lance's. And so Lance and his team are sent in as the second try. And to not only to stop it, but they're going to try to go and rescue his friend. So that's that story. I'm also doing Deadly Deals, just started last week. With its first opening chapter, and that is a sequel to a novel I wrote that came out 11 years ago called Deadly Games. So it's a sequel in turn. It's the same characters, but it's a new story with the same characters. And so I'm going to do it on there as well. And then when The Lance Starr book will be published by Airship 27 when it's done, because they're the ones that do the anthologies and all. Ben Books, my company, will publish Deadly Deals when it gets finished. So, and I just finished up Evil Intent that way too, which is the sequel to my first novel, Evil Ways, which came out like 12 years ago. So this is helping me get books out, not having to wait a decade between them.
So this little pandemic has really helped you catch up on a few little things.
Yeah. Because it was really easy for me to slide stuff to the side. Like I said, especially if it didn't have, if it's just something I'm creating for myself, those things would tend to get pushed to the side in favor of work for other publishers. And so late last year and into this year, I made the decision to make Ben Books more of not just a sideline thing. So I actually spend more effort trying to make it a going business. So that means if I set deadlines for them, I still have to meet those deadlines, as opposed to pushing them to work other stuff. So,
you commented about that just before we went live, that doing these novellas now helps you really get work out now, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it helps me. Especially these things that don't have firm deadlines. I can still work on them. I can still make progress, and I want to. Because you don't want, if you're promising you're going to put out a chapter a week, you got to put out a chapter a week. I mean, there are times when crap happens and you miss one, but you can't make a habit out of it, And so doing these it's a bit of a motivation, because, I got to write this chapter or finish this chapter. I try to work ahead, so I'm not writing the chapter that goes up this week. I do try to work ahead. I don't always succeed, but I try. Eventually, as I get farther into it, I will catch up to myself. But it helps me to, keep the process going, keep things moving. And then once it's done, the serialized novel it's the first draft. It does get a polish, and you could get changes, but it's nice. It gives me that instant feedback, and I kind of write it in a way where we have little cliffhangers and things like that. The side advantage of doing it is because I'm promoting that I'm doing it each chapter. Say Lance Starr is probably going to be 30 chapters by the time it's done. That's 30 opportunities to pre-promote the book before it comes out.
Yes.
Without me selling anything. Because, part of promotion is you have to talk to people without selling them stuff. Because if you're just doing, you should buy this, people's first reaction is no. I'm getting them, used to hearing about the story, getting them invested in the story without me trying to sell them anything. So that's part of my mad promotion plans.
Speaking of plans, how detailed are your plans in your universe? I understand you just mentioned right now, for example, and I'm not trying to be dumb about it. It's how far do you really think ahead? How well, I don't want to say well defined the universe is, but how far ahead are you? I mean, you obviously mentioned 30 chapters. You already know.
Well, I've already written 25 of them. Yeah, I've written 25 of them already. So I'm.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, I am a little ahead.
You're a tad ahead.
Knowing how many words are left, because when you work for a publisher, you can't just write what you have a size limit. Based on, so like all my snow books are the same size, because if I suddenly write one that's twice as long as the others, it's going to cost twice as much, which pisses off your audience. If all of a sudden this book's going to cost twice as much as the other ones, you don't want to do that. You want to, so there's business decisions. So for the Lance Starr novel, it's going to be a 60,000 word novel, whereas the Snow novellas are all 30,000 word novellas. So knowing that, I can go in and I plan them for that size. As far as the future, I'm always thinking ahead, but I don't have like concrete plans. I have very loose plans of, I know I want these things to happen, or I want to do these things, or, I've got little notes. Some of them are just as simple as one sentence. Like for Snow, I'll write down a title, and I was like, I'll throw one out that's just that has not gone any farther than just this, called Snow Dive. Snow, and my note for that is snow in a shark cage in the ocean. I don't know why. I don't know anything, but that's, that's a plot. I'll do that one day, or
Wow. Okay.
And so a lot of them start out like that. Just, ooh, this is a cool idea. You write it down, and then when you get to it, you see what works. So as for like outlined and all that, no, I'm not that far ahead.
You don't have the proverbial George Lucas spiral notebook, right?
No, my plans are not that far reaching. I do get ideas as I'm going, and I make notes. So while I was working on In the Wind, which was the first Sheriff Myers book, I wrote it, and as I'm writing it, sometimes you write things with the characters that, while may not necessarily be integral to that story, it's character development bits. And sometimes I'll make notes at the bottom. It's like future story, this happens, and so I'm always thinking. So like right now I have loose plots for 5 of those so far. 2 are written, 3 still to be written. So, excuse me. So I'm not, super far ahead, but I do look ahead of things I want to do with them. Things as you're coming up with the characters and as you're writing things, you go, oh, wouldn't it be cool if this happened? Or, if a character says something in dialogue that says, I'll never do that again, you can pretty much guarantee they're going to have to do that again, things like that. And so I'll make notes, and the characters live and breathe up here. They talk to me. They tell me what they will and won't do. They remind me they're there. Sometimes that's how the Sheriff Myers, the In the Wind, and all that happened. Was I had written that character in Evil Ways, and he was a secondary character, and I had never intended anything further than that one novel with the character in it. And then I wrote another novel that took place in the same town, and I was like, this little voice kept going, this would be the part where you call the cops. And so eventually he found his way into that book. And then ever so often the character would just remind me, I'm still waiting for my story. And I was like, well, I don't, but I didn't have one for him. And so, because not every character and every story fit together, not every story is the perfect fit for every character. So when the story finally came together that was a good fit for him, that's when he gets his own book.
Got it.
But yes, they argue and talk in my head a lot.
Oh, I bet they do. Technical question. This goes back to your years in writing now. I've spoken to many authors over the years, and recently, due to the tumultuous nature of publishing and the internet, has your model changed? And let me explain to you what I mean by that question. Mm-hmm. Other authors have mentioned that the size of their novels are being reduced. And I don't know if it's the type of genre. I don't know if it's the strategy that they're trying to use. But has that changed? Because I know you mentioned 60,000 words, mm-hmm. and you explained to us, if you would, you explain to us what that means, whether it's in your business, small, medium, or large. What is that? And has it changed in the last few years?
Oh, absolutely. When I first started, like Evil Ways and Deadly Games and Earthstrike Agenda were the first 3 novels I wrote, and each of those is over 100,000 words long. That was a full-length novel, and that's what a full-length novel was at the time. When I started working on, oh, go ahead.
What does that equate to in pages? Just roughly 100,000 novels. What could that be for us?
100,000 novels.
It's over.
I didn't mean to say that.
Yeah, it's over 300 pages.
Oh wow! Okay.
I don't have one within arm's reach, but that's well over 300 pages.
That's what I was looking for when I was turning, because I have all my books over here, and I was thinking of a book I'm sure you've read, Peter David. I'm sure you've read many of his books, but I can't think of the one right now where it was the big novel in 1991. It was the first version of the Borg in books.
Oh, yeah,
Vendetta, yes. That's about what? That was a thicker book. That was what they called back then.
But that was also a paperback, too. Yeah,
right.
It wasn't full size. Like Evil Ways and Deadly Games were full size 6x9 novels.
Okay.
At 300 and some odd pages, 320, something like that, and so that's roughly 100 to 101,000 words, whatever. That's roughly that. And
thank you.
as I started working for small press publishers, 60,000 was kind of their norm because of paper costs and everything. You don't want at 60,000 words, you could sell those books for $15. Any more than that, you start getting up closer to 20. And in a small press, that becomes harder sell to the audience. You want to keep, because you don't want to price yourself out of a sale. Now, when I started Ben Books, I started doing novellas for Snow, because originally I sold Snow to another publisher that was going to do just ebooks. And so they wanted ebook novellas because their plan was they were just going to do short ebook series.
Mm-hmm.
When the publisher eventually went under and I got my rights back, I shopped Snow around to other publishers. And at that time, I didn't find any publishers that were interested in doing novellas. Everything had to be 60 or more thousand words, 60,000 or more words. In recent years, that has changed. I have been hired to write 30 and 40,000 word stories for publishers, as novellas. And part of that is cost, because paper costs, that's your biggie when it comes to doing paperbacks is paper costs. The ebooks you can still sell around $2.99, no problem, but the paper cost gets a little higher. So when I started doing the Snow books, my plan was I was going to release the ebooks as the novellas as ebooks, and then every 3 of them I'd collect it in paper, because that would be about 90,000 words.
Oh,
And I realized that I could do little paperbacks of each of them individually. That works well when I do conventions because I could sell those books cheaper. It's easier to sell a $9 book than a $20 book to someone that's never heard of you and wants to try something.
right.
So from a business standpoint, doing the novellas helped me keep my costs in a way that allows people that have never heard of me to try my work and not feel like they're spending way too much money. But I also then still collect them, so people that want the 6x9 full size can still get that. So as a business, as a publisher, I'm putting it in multiple formats. So I put out the ebook, the paperback, and an audio of the novellas. Then we collect it. We do a collected ebook, a collected paperback, a collected audio. Then we do a hardcover that, there's just a lot of different formats for whatever people want. So yes, to answer your question, yes, a lot of it has changed. Just like how we consume TV, the binge watching formula, or the streaming, how it's, we'll put out either a whole season or just a block of episodes at a time. I kind of do that with the Snow books and the novellas. Like I can put out 3 Snow books a year at $10 a piece or whatever, and you get them in small doses. That's 3 different times of the year I can talk about the book as opposed to just doing one book. And so for a small press, getting my name out there and keeping stuff constantly coming out has helped my business model.
Do you find, since it's been a while since you've been to a convention, let's talk about before when there were conventions. And I remember, Bobby, you were doing conventions all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you find that you had people follow you to different conventions?
I don't know if they were following me from convention to convention, but there were people there. I have a small fan base. It's that of people that read my stuff and people that come out to see me at shows. There are people that come out that I only see. There are people I see only at Dragon Con, but every year they come to say hi or to come by.
And they missed you this year.
Yeah. Or they come by and go, "What's new since last year?"
Mm-hmm.
And other shows are the same way. It's not just, I have people that I only see at certain shows, or, people that will, they just stop to say hello. You get to know people. I do a lot of panels and stuff when I'm at at conventions as well. So you get to know people, and so there's a bit of community that comes with doing, conventions, as you guys know, and so there becomes a lot of that where even people that are, reading your books, they're coming up and just saying. Sometimes it's just coming up and saying hi, or checking it out. I don't. Selling is a big part of what I do, but I became a lot happier when I stopped making it the focus of my convention experience. Because a lot of it's easy to go broke at a con. We all know this. It does not take long to go, crap, I'm out of money. So, a lot of times I treat conventions partly as part of my promotion. So even if you don't buy anything from me, you go home with a business card and where books are available. And I will see spikes at their next paycheck. They go, oh yeah, I want to check this guy's book out. So stuff like that. So yeah, so getting out and doing, I love getting out and talking to people. I mean, we obviously, Michael, you and I, we have been at cons together. I love to get out and talk to people and, not just talk about my stuff, but talk about just in general, talk to people about what this geeky stuff we're interested in. And I do think, I don't have any like math to back this up, but I do feel that one of my better promoting things is me talking to people, getting out and just getting to know them. Yeah. Because sometimes people, if they like you, that colors, their opinion of your work or makes them want to buy it, or the opposite. I mean, I've met writers or artists whose work I loved, and then I met them and I didn't love their work as much after, or vice versa. Writers who I just thought were, oh, they're okay, and then I met them and I go, oh, they're awesome people, and their work is suddenly better to me. So there's a lot that comes from, we're selling ourselves as much as we are anything else. And so I'm excuse me, I make it a point to try to be as friendly and personable and, with everybody. And when I first started doing this, I would look at other creators who were guests at cons, and I would see the ones that I was like, which people do I like talking to? Let me watch what they're doing. And you see how they treat their fans, or total strangers even, because not everybody that comes up to my table has heard of me or knows who I am. Sometimes it's just, oh, who are you? You try to make them feel welcome, and, just I'm not a huckster. I can't do the used car salesman tactic for selling books. That's just not me. And so, but so far it's worked for me. I could probably sell more if I did it the other way, but I wouldn't be as comfortable.
It works, Bobby. It's genuine. And when you mentioned the personal contact a few years ago, workplace thing, I ran for an office that was voted on by the employees and members, and I went out and I walked, and people were shocked. I said, "Wait, you're the candidate?" He said, "Yeah, you've got my vote." I hadn't even said a word yet. And that happened more often than not because I visited places that no one else had gone, and they just said, "My goodness, you actually came out to see me."
Mm-hmm.
It kind of is that way. Or I can acknowledge, Bobby, what you're saying. I would agree with. Yes.
There was a cool moment at a con one time. This guy walked up to my table, and he goes, I see you at these things all the time. Let me buy a book.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, he's like, obviously, you must be good at what you do. I see you at cons all the time, so I want to get something. And so, that made me feel good. I heard one Saturday at the convention I was at Saturday that said, Bobby, you look exactly like your profile picture. It's like he's like, funny. I meet a lot of people and they've doctored, or they've either cleaned it up or
really?
It's like, it's like no,
yes.
This is me. I do try to angle it so it hides some of the double chin, but I try not to take photos, where you can see the belly. I try to stick, but I don't. Yeah, because someone told me once I should color my hair, and I'm like, that's work.
Bobby, your Facebook page matches you right now.
Yeah, it's
I
Yeah,
didn't think about that.
yeah,
No.
I don't.
This is just an animated image
Yeah,
of his Facebook page. This really isn't him.
yeah, really. Yeah, it's.
I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, the online persona, there is. We are
My
putting on a
God.
bit of a persona when we do this stuff,
Yes.
but it's not a big mask for me. This is me. You know, I
Bobby,
am.
it's real, and
Yeah,
I appreciate you are real. Yes.
I'm not that good at faking it. You know. So yeah, it's and a lot of it's stuff you learn as you're doing. When I first started this, I was really shy when I started this stuff. I know it's Michael's like,
Oh.
really?
Well, no,
But
you were shy with us at first.
yeah, it takes
You
me a bit.
were.
It takes a bit when I don't know people. It does take a
Yeah.
minute.
Sure.
But my early days, like the first couple of times I tried to do a panel, I just couldn't. But practice makes perfect. You do it enough, you know.
Yeah.
And I also learned in terms of like doing events and conventions, I don't remember what made me think of this, but I had this epiphany that it wasn't that hard to talk to people there because I'm standing, there's a table between us with my books on it, and that's the icebreaker. They walked up to my table
Yeah.
for a reason. So that's the icebreaker. Or like when I first met you, Michael, you and John, we were across from each other at Con Carolinas. And it's like walking up, you know, it's hey, I'm enjoying the episodes because I heard them all weekend.
All weekend, yes.
Yeah, because it was like because they were on a loop, you know, and it was funny because I remember on that Sunday, just as it's near the end of the day, and I go over to Michael and I'm like, okay, I've been listening to these things all week. I have an idea. Because after a while, you know, I could start hearing the characters in my head. So, but yeah. So, question.
Yes, it's a good one.
Who does the artwork for your book covers, and how do you choose what cover you want?
Ooh,
That's an
good,
excellent
Bunny.
question.
Thank you, Bunny.
Yes,
Great.
thank you, Bunny.
Bunny, where are you from? Just put the city if you like in the state. You don't need the address or anything.
South Carolina.
So I do. When I work for publishers, I have zero control over the covers. So like Domino Lady, I had no control over that. It's a beautiful cover. That's Uwe Jarling did that cover there, the Domino Lady cover, who is a fantastic artist. He's out of Germany, does some beautiful, beautiful work. And but for like Snow here, this particular cover is done by Jeffrey Hayes. This particular poster is the first 6 books. So the images around Snow are things from the first 6 books. So there's, you know, like Snow Dry was book 3, so you get the race car. Snow Star was about the actress that gets killed, so that's the one here on the side. So there's an image from each of the first 6 books. If I ever do an omnibus
That is cool.
of the first 6 books, that'll be the cover. So and a lot of times it's just a matter of either telling them what you want. Like when we did the Lance Starr poster this back there, that was the comic book cover. James Burns did the art on that, and I remembered in that case I did tell him, here's what I'm thinking, because the story is called One Shot, and at one point he has to, like, his plane gets shot and he has to like dive out of the plane. And so this is an image of him falling toward the ground, shooting up, you know, and that's what I kind of wanted. And so that's what he gave me what I wanted. with like In the Wind, Jeffrey Hayes and I bounced back and forth on, you know, some ideas. You know, we wanted the badge to be very front and center because it's about a small town sheriff's department. And so we came up with what could go in it. And so like that'll be the branding that goes forward. Like in this particular instance, there's a couple of bullet holes in glass around it. Yes, there you go. And then book 2 is called Such a Night. We're keeping it's the same badge, but instead of the bullet holes, there's an element that's from the story, and there's a different color to it. So there's a bit of branding that way. So we discussed those things. But then I trust, you trust your people to go off and do what they do. And then there have been some cases like Deadly Games. I shot the photo of the cover. That one, Molten Menace, Falstaff Books contact, put me in touch with their artist and said, the artist asked me some questions and says, what are you thinking? What's the book about? What's the, and so from my answers, this is what they came up with. And, so there's different, depending on who you're working for and what you're doing, there's different levels of involvement. Like with Deadly Games, I shot that one. A friend of mine posed as the model for it, and I shot that and did all the design for that one on my own. Evil Ways is pretty much just a design cover with like a blood splatter, and so an artist buddy of mine did the blood splatter for me. So you're able to just work in different things like that and what you can do. And so it just depends on your involvement in the project, because for stuff like the Domino Lady books, I have no say. Usually I don't know what the book cover is going to look like until the publisher goes, here's the book cover. And that's that's just how the business works. So
Which do you enjoy the most? Do you enjoy having kind of semi-creative control, total creative control, or you're willing just to do whatever is
I guess a lot of it depends on your involvement too. I own Snow. Snow is mine. The characters in Evil Ways and Deadly Games and In the Wind, those are my characters.
Mm-hmm.
So, succeed or fail, that's, I have a very personal stake. Those are we talked earlier about the whole, would it be cool if in 5 years Netflix come a calling? Well, that's my plan for the future. I own these. Netflix comes calling, they have to deal with me, so.
Or me,
Right. So I want to have a little more involvement in all of the aspects of it, or at least know what's going on. So knowing what, so we, like I said, we talk about the covers and what we want, and, branding and what's, that kind of thing. When I do work for other publishers, I generally don't own that. But I mean, there's still a, I don't want to, you still take pride in it. You still feel a bit of, even though you don't own it, you feel a little, proprietary about it. I don't own Domino Lady. Domino Lady is a public domain character. There are 4 different publishers doing Domino Lady stuff. But this version of Domino Lady, I feel a bit of stewardship to her because I've been writing the character so long. And I know, Nancy Holder and I have been writing her, off and on for a number of years now. And so there's even though somebody can do something tomorrow and, say, Bobby, you're done, and I'm done, I still feel that kind of, I want to be protective of that character. But at the end of the day, I also know she's not mine. And so someone else can do something with her or whatever, that kind of thing. So you just kind of know going in, you try not to get overly attached in some cases. It'd be like if someone called me tomorrow and said, hey, I want you to write Spider-Man. That'd be awesome. But I know I don't own Spider-Man. And I know that eventually someone's going to tell a story that undoes my story. It's just the nature of the business. Or like a good example, when I wrote a Starship Farragut episode, I don't own those characters, but I still, as the writer, you want to be as true to those characters and do as good a job for those characters as if they were your own. But at the end of the day, I know one of the actors could come and go, my character wouldn't do that, and they know their characters better than I do. So, but that's part of the business. You know that going in, and so if you know that going in, you don't get upset. Like if somebody comes along and because my Farragut episode, there were changes to the script. It happens. I didn't get upset about them because at the end of the day, it's just like editing. We're all there to make the best end product we can.
And you got to see it made into a movie.
I did. What? And that was that's that feeling. I mean, I've told this story before. Probably last time I was here with you guys, I probably mentioned it too. one of the coolest moments of my life was going to the screening down at the sets, and we were all sitting there in the big open auditorium area, and it's up on the, it's showing up on the big screen there, and the episode, because it's told in that format, so there's a teaser, and then you do the opening credits. You come back from the opening credits commercial, and the ship's flying over, and there's the title, and there's my name, and that was like one of the coolest moments of my life. And so that's the kind of stuff that but I also know what I'm getting into when I do things. There's no money in doing a fan film, but I knew that going in. Because I have had people go, "Why are you doing this for free?" or "Why do you do this for no money?" And there's a lot of different reasons to work on projects. I can't base every creative decision on money, because if I do, I'd be very unhappy. And because I've gotten to write characters, or I've gotten to work with people that I've wanted to work with on things that I knew would not make me much money.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes because anthologies don't make money, because for every dollar an anthology makes, it gets split between the 15 or 20 people that worked on it. That's pennies per sale. So nobody's going to get rich doing an anthology. But if an author that you've always wanted to work with calls you up, or someone calls, it's a character you've always wanted to write, sometimes you do those things for reasons other than the monetary, but you know that going in. So that helps, knowing what you're getting into whenever you do whatever you're doing. And I don't know how I got on that topic. Sorry, I hope I answered her question.
Definitely. Again, Bobby, it's a conversation. This is where we're going. This is what we're doing. Folks, I do want to say we are at the top of the hour now. It is 8 p.m. on the Pacific Coast. Want to welcome everyone who's joining us, who has been with us and will be watching this live later in the archive. This is Monday Night America, a wonderful and special episode. Well, they all are, but this is a special episode with our guest, Bobby Nash, as well as our guest co-host, Michael Day, and, of course, the guy who lives here, Roger. We're having a wonderful conversation. Thank you, sir. I don't know why. I guess I was tired or awake, and I just dressed in the Enterprise garb. I don't know why.
Well, I
think this is only the second time I've worn the entire thing.
Yeah. Well, it made me worried, because I would come in and I was like, "Oh crap, Star Trek uniforms. I'm wearing red."
That's pretty good. Yeah, that is. Are you watching the series such as Lower Decks and now Prodigy by chance?
I haven't seen Prodigy yet. I do want to check that out.
Yeah, that was just this past Thursday.
I have only seen one episode of Lower Decks. It's not for me. It's just not for me. But I enjoyed Picard. I really enjoyed season 3 of Discovery.
As did I.
Seasons 1 and 2 were. I didn't love them, but I didn't hate them. But man, season 3 was like a huge leap in terms of that show for me. I really love season 3. So I'm excited for season 4.
If we could get into it a little bit. I mean, it's been out for a year now. Come on. It's going to season 4 debuts. Let's see, Discover. It debuts November 18th.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, if they haven't seen it, they haven't seen it. I noticed that everyone. Actually, no, I can't say that. This is a tangent. Netflix broke us on watching television and movies and stuff by doing the entire down, where they dumped the entire season 1. I know Paramount, Disney, not sure about Amazon, but I do know that Paramount and Disney, they drop their episodes once a week.
Yeah.
And I thought years ago, I guess a business model would be, I think it'll work once a week.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think
Netflix is kicking everyone's butt.
Yeah. I think what has happened now that streaming is there's so many of them. Like with Netflix, I don't think, when they were the only game in town doing it, I think now what it is people were like, "Oh, I'll sign up for Paramount Plus, watch Picard, and then get rid of it. And then I'll sign up again a year from now for a month, get rid." And they realize, hey, we're losing money. And so I think that's why they've gone back to the weekly release model. And I'm fine with that too, because in some cases, binging, one of the things that I think binging loses, think back to, I'm trying to think of a good show off the top of my head, but
The Next Generation.
Right, where think about it where you that week between episodes where
Yes.
you're talking about it. You're,
Mhm.
oh my God, what's going to happen next? Or, that one long summer between season 3 and season 4 of Next Generation, that was the longest summer I think any Trekkie had ever spent,
Yes, sir.
or as you get further along where you're doing shows that are not necessarily episodic, but like one big story, like, DS9 did it a lot, or like Lost or stuff like that in their heyday, where you spent that week talking about the episode.
Monday morning at work.
Yeah. And so binging it, you kind of lose that, because I watched the whole thing this weekend. I'm done. And you don't talk about it because you don't want to spoil it for people that hadn't seen it. So I do think sometimes the binging kind of hurts that community bit around it. Then again, I like to watch things binged. Usually what I do is I'll watch it week to week, and then when it's done, I'll watch it all at one time just to see how it flows. But
yeah.
like a recent one like WandaVision was a great one for people talking about it from week to week, with what was going on the show, because there was a lot of really cool stuff there. And so having that week between episodes to speculate and talk and, geek out with other people about, oh my God, did I just see that? That was good. And then Amazon kind of does release the whole thing, or release a half a season. Excuse me. I'm a big fan of Leverage, and they released the new season of that, the new show of that, in 2 blocks. So they released half a season, and then a couple of months later released the other half of the season.
Okay.
So
Michael hooked me on, I believe it's Upload on Amazon.
Amazon Prime.
It's
I'm
been
not familiar with that one.
Yeah, it's been.
It's a little crazy, Bobby.
The episodes are shorter. It
Mhm.
is unique. It's a take on the whole idea of a download, but it's called it's Upload, right?
It's Upload.
Well, I think too, and with all of these different services like this, what I do see a lot, again, we go back to that whole, if Netflix comes calling, because I do see like some of the shows that are things that are becoming shows are that where they can take a novel series and go, season 1 is book 1 and 2. Like Bosch. I'm a big Harry Bosch fan. The Bosch season on Amazon, there's 7 seasons, and each season would take like 2 or 3 novels, and that was the whole season. They would kind of mix and match it together. And so with so many opportunities to create new shows, they are going and looking at things like books and comics and video games to what can become a good TV show. So
yeah, Bunny had a question for you. Let me put it back up again. What person or persons inspired you to do creative writing?
Ooh, that's a good one. I didn't have anybody like in particular that I just went one day. It's like, ooh, I want to write because they write. I don't recall ever having that. But once the idea to start writing happened, then I started looking at other people. Not only in terms of just what they did, but how they did it. Because I'm very self-taught. I didn't take like in college how to write. Not that there's a lot of places that teach it. But I took some like evening classes. The no credit classes. I did do a few of those, and some were more helpful than others. But my favorite was one called "How to Murder and Mayhem for Fun and Profit."
Oh, there you go.
Yes, I wrote Evil Ways while taking that class. So that was cool. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And also that helped me, again, with some of that shyness thing, because we had to read in front of the class and then get feedback not only from the teacher, but from the other students. And so having to be able to read and get your stuff out, in front of people was terrifying. But, so things like that. Again, seeing how other people do things, seeing how other writers that write the same kind of stuff I do things. You learn by studying, like you mentioned Peter David. I'm a big fan of Peter David's novels, so I read a lot of those, and so there's a little bit. You'll see a little bit of some of the stuff I picked up from him, or the stuff I picked up from reading Michael Connelly or Jonathan Mayberry or any of those guys. And so you pick up things that way on the writing side of things. But doing conventions, I picked up a lot more by meeting and watching these people work and do what they do and be out and among people. I learned so much from having conversations. At the con, a lot of times, the writers hang out at the bar afterwards, and we're all just sitting there talking and shooting the bull. And, it's, talking about what we do, why we do what we do. And I learned so much from those conversations. And get inspired, to up my game, because these people are doing really cool stuff, and not in a competition I want to beat them way, but it's like they make me want to write better, because they are writing better.
Yeah, you want to be there. You want to be with them. You want to be in the same club, which you are.
Yeah, because it's not one of those. I try not to. I don't look at other creative people as my competition. Another writer writing a good book and selling their book does not hurt me at all. In fact, the more, what's that old saying about the rising tide lifting all boats? I believe that's true. And so, I'm happy. I have a lot of, I've over the years, I've gotten to know a lot of writers and artists and actors and whatnot. And, when they're successful, I don't go, oh, why not me? I go, that's awesome, because it really is, I truly love it to see my friends succeed. And so, yeah, it's just, I learned so much from like talking to people and getting out and meeting them and seeing what they do. And I've been doing this long enough now that if I ever get to a point where, because we all get down in our jobs from time to time, or it feels overwhelming. There is a community of writers that I can, a handful of people I know right now, I could call right now and go, talk me off the ledge, because it's a community. It becomes a bit of a community. And I love that. So not one person in particular made me want to do it. But yeah, because my grand dream was not to write. I had no dream of being a writer. My goal was I wanted to be a comic book artist. Oh, wow. The problem is I'm not a good comic book artist.
That's a problem.
So, yeah, but I started writing to have things to draw, for me to draw. So at that point, someone pointed it out to me that, you might be better at that than this. And so it kind of just went from there. And then, I was really in trouble the day I said, I think I'm going to try to write a novel. It's been down. It's been downhill ever since. Yeah.
No. Obviously, you don't take yourself seriously.
No.
Humble, no doubt. You are an introvert, though, right? By nature, writer, you must be an introvert.
I do stay at home a lot. Yeah. It's I don't get out like this. Like the me you see at conventions that's very outgoing. I'm not that way like anywhere else where I go around people I don't know. It takes me,
It's difficult, isn't it?
Right. I don't have that icebreaker. It's not, we're not all there for, so I don't just go up to people in like the grocery store and start chit chatting.
Or buy my book.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I should just get me one of those, the clapboards to put on, just walk around with buy my book on all the time. But yeah. But yeah, so I don't, there are days I'm quite happy to stay home. I don't get out often, and just go and do things. I'm generally home because I tend to work all day,
right?
And then I also take care of my dad, so there's some of that, and he and I get out and sometimes road trip a bit during the day, But
I appreciate those posts, Bobby. I do see them, and it's really good stuff. I do follow you, Bobby.
Oh, yeah, we have fun. We have fun getting out. That was something we started doing. Excuse me, with the pandemic, and we had some family show. Like a few years back, we lost my mother and we lost my brother, and so my dad was like, I got to get out of the house. But then we have this pandemic, and he couldn't. It was hard for him to go places, and at his age, he really didn't want to get out around people because. He's in his 70s. He didn't want to get around and, being careful. So we hit upon the idea that we could just get out and go. We don't have to go anywhere. We just go.
Yes, just going.
And so, yeah, so we can get out and take these road trips.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's just a matter of, we live close to a state park. Sometimes it's a matter of going through a drive-through, getting some lunch, go to the park, sit at the lake.
Yep.
You know, that's 2 or 3 hours. That's good. Other times we're gone 5, 6, 7 hours, and we've hit 2 or 3 states, and we're just riding. And it's like, where does that road go? I don't know. And so it's more about just the getting out, and it's kept us from going stir crazy. Being trapped at home for a couple of years. So yeah, so stuff like that's nice. Little things but for the most part, I mean, if I don't have to go somewhere, most days I'm home. Usually when I do get out and do something that's not either a road trip with him or a convention, it's usually one of my friends kidnapping me to do something. Like today, a buddy of mine says, "Hey, the original Ghostbusters is playing at the theater."
I saw that. Yes.
And he's like, and I had mentioned that I had never seen it on the big screen. So he's like, "I'm coming to pick you up. We're going to go see the movie." So we went and saw the movie on the big screen, which was a fun, and we were the only two there. So it was like we had a private screening of Ghostbusters. It was awesome. So
okay,
yeah,
I was about to ask, how was it, Bobby? It was awesome. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? It's the thing about a lot of my favorite movies I've never seen on the big screen because my parents were not movie going people. We rarely, like the first Alien movie I saw in the theater was Alien 3. The first Star Trek movie I saw in the theater was Star Trek 5. The first Indiana Jones I saw was 3. That was when I was old enough to go by myself.
Yeah.
So the only one that was the exception, we did go see Star Wars. I remember that. We saw it at the drive-in.
Okay.
And that was amazing. And then my cousins took me to the other Star Wars movies, to Empire and Return of the Jedi. So I did see those when they came out, but those were the exception. So most of my favorite movies I've never seen, in a theater. So whenever one of them, like Jaws, I'm a huge Jaws fan. So it's only been like 5 years since I saw Jaws in the theater for the first time, or because they were starting to do that here around here, this retro cinema thing where
they're doing it, I think, on Wednesday or Tuesday. Yes, right.
Yeah. So
Once a week.
I've gotten to catch up on some, like seeing Wrath of Khan, for the first time, or Raiders of the Lost Ark and Die Hard and Casablanca, things like so. That's been cool. I saw Aliens, so things like that have been fun. Getting to catch up on some of these movies that way, and so this was the first time with Ghostbusters. And the biggest thing I noticed from watching it, because watching it on a screen, even though I have a 60-inch TV, it's not like it's tiny,
right?
But on the big screen, it's the little details that you notice there that you've never noticed on the TV. Like the two biggies a biggie for me, like in Wrath of Khan, the no smoking signs on the bridge. I hear them coming.
Oh wow, you can hear it.
I heard that. Yeah,
it's that it has to be a medical aid situation.
Yeah.
I am not 1 mile from the regional hospital here.
Yeah.
And every now and then I hear it. It's like,
yeah,
that's a life flight. Yeah. Oh no,
yeah.
They're unfortunately. I apologize. I didn't know you guys could hear it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
But
I got buzzed, boys.
Yeah. So, but little things like that, like I said, the no smoking signs on the bridge in Wrath of Khan, or I never noticed it on TV, but when they enter the nebula, there's that bit where everybody kind of does this.
Oh yeah.
I noticed
Kirk
on the big screen that Spock, Kirk, and Sulu don't. The experienced crew don't have the shock.
Yes.
The cadets, that it throws them. These guys are prepared for it, and it's one of those things I never noticed it on the little screen. And so today with Ghostbusters, I was surprised by how many times the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man is foreshadowed. He is not. I know he's on the package when the eggs explode.
Yes.
But he's painted on the side of buildings. He's on billboards that I have never noticed before until today. And so little things like that just kind of enhance that the movie theater experience for me.
I want to give a quick shout out. We have several other likes, of course. I don't know if I mentioned Vance Major Owen. Thank you for the love. Sergio Lomelli, thank you as well. And Ross Trowbridge. Ross, no, I'm not wearing my Sports Talk with the Guy uniform. It's only the second time I've worn this uniform, and it's usually on Monday night or a special one. I have the jacket, yes. See, this is the most I've ever had a uniform. I actually have the jacket and the jumpsuit. So I apologize. I'm geeking out. That's because Bobby is here with us. But folks, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I
No,
feel
go
so
ahead.
bad. I've never had a Starfleet uniform.
I did up until this last year, and I have Picard's from Picard's, the whole thing as well.
I think
And
if I was gonna do one, and I won't probably, but if I was gonna do one,
Rathacon,
Rathacon is my second favorite Star Trek uniform.
First Contact.
Yes, the black, the gray and black with the underneath and the layers.
Yes,
that First Contact Deep Space Nine uniform. I love those. That just there's
okay. The Voyager DS9 had the black with
right, but
the
after
colors.
First Contact, Deep Space Nine had the First Contact.
Oh,
uniform.
I apologize. That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Right. So I always think of them as Deep Space Nine uniforms, but yes, they got them after First Contact.
You're right.
With the gray and the black, but they're layered where they could take the jacket off, and I always just thought that was really cool looking because they could, unzip it and it's a jacket, and I kind of like that about the Rathacon uniforms too because they could, it wasn't just a T-shirt,
right?
And so it felt more. I don't know. There was something about it where you could do things, like. When they unsnap the Rathacon uniforms to when things are going bad, they can unstrap it, or that's when ooh, something's wrong.
Yeah. Now, Bobby, you've mentioned the movie going experience, and I've had a chance to talk about this every once in a while. But of the movies you've seen on the big screen, and I love what you just said about what you can see on the big screen and what you miss, because it's true, you miss a lot, man. I mean, most kids are watching movies here. And it's like, no, big screen.
One of the little details.
Yeah. Or it's the epic feel to movies. Mm-hmm. And I'm always looking for that one moment where it's like, wow, it feels huge. It feels epic. Mm-hmm. One of the scenes, Hunt for Red October. You've seen the movie, right?
Yep.
Did you see the big screen?
I did not, no.
Okay, when you're watching the big screen and they know the cook is in there or they know someone's in the missile bay, whatever, and he starts shooting at him, and then Ramius grabs him. He says, "Hey, Ryan, be careful what you shoot at in here. Some things don't react too well to bullets." He's like, "Okay, right." And then the camera pulls back, and this is on the big screen, folks. Pulls back, and all you see is the entire missile bay with just all nuclear missiles. Everyone in the audience was like, "Oh crap!" It was one of those things that you had to see on the big screen because it's just, oh my goodness.
Two of those that really always stand out for me just by how cool they look.
Yeah.
Obviously, the one where in Star Wars where Darth Vader's about to shoot Luke and he gets shot and the Millennium Falcon comes down and the sun is behind it.
Yes.
With the Yahoo, that moment of the Millennium Falcon coming towards you, that's a big screen moment. Or the end of Star Trek: The Motion Picture, where V'ger disappears, and the Enterprise is just there, with all the stuff going away from it, and the Enterprise is just like right there at your eye line. Those are two moments that really, really, really work on the big screen.
Wow, that
and
is
seeing
cool.
And seeing the Ghostbusters today do the scene where they walk up and in unison they're pulling the yeah. Seeing that on the big screen was really cool.
I did. I saw that on the big screen too, and I'm glad you're able to enjoy it. I appreciate Ross's comment about where he's up in the catwalk, I guess, and he does the be careful with it's a great where he imitates him as well. Did you know for Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, do you know any of the background, any of the stuff from the writers and the producers, how they chose who to be Indiana Jones' dad? Do you know how that came about?
I would assume that just like who better to be Indiana Jones' dad than James Bond, but
oh my god, that was pretty much it. They were discussing who could be the character, who could be whatever. This is Indiana Jones, and they were fleshing it out, talking about it, and someone said, who could be Indiana Jones' dad? And then someone said, James Bond. Who could it be? And it was like the light went on. It was perfect. They reached out to him. The deal was done. And The Last Crusade, Bobby. Wow.
Oh, I love that movie.
Far from perfect.
That movie has one of my favorite movie lines in it, and is not spoken by Indy or his dad. There's a point where they've sent Marcus Brody off to find Sala.
Yeah, the fish
with the map, and he's walking there down through the bazaar, and people are trying to sell him stuff.
Yes.
And they're offering him water, and he goes, "Water? No, fish make love in it."
Yes.
And that line, that's just a perfect line.
Yes. I love in the first movie where the Germans have now taken control of the Ark, and they're going out of the city, out of Tanis right there. And then the Indy starts to, give instructions or whatever. Says, okay, so what are you going to do? Well, I don't know. I'm making this up as I go. Oh my goodness.
That's how I write. Great. That's my writing right there in a nutshell. Yeah. Because a lot of times it looks like I was discussing this with somebody the other day. It's like a lot of times it looks like I know what I'm doing because I'll do something later that follows up on something, or it's like, oh, or you planned that. I was like, no, I did that, and then that went, oh yeah, that works. And so, yeah, a lot of times it looks like we plan things that just happen in the moment.
Happy accidents, right?
Yeah. No, unless you think I'm brilliant for that, then of course I planned it.
Yes, you are, Bobby.
I think you did.
Yes, you are. Hey, Bobby, what were your feelings now that Starship Farragut finally got it done? They were able to get it. The last episode was out.
I enjoyed Homecoming. That was fun.
I did too.
I'm curious. I saw John posted the picture of him in the Wrath of Khan era uniform.
Farragut forward, yeah.
And I thought that looked good, and I think the beard was a really nice touch for his character, having the beard, and it kind of gives him that Navy look, Yes. So I'm curious to see what they do going forward. I have nothing but fond memories of my interaction and working on the Farragut stuff, and my only regret, and it's a regret I had both for that one. I've written three. I did a Starship Farragut, I did a Star Trek Continues, and I wrote a Hospital Ship Marie Curie. And my biggest regret is I was unable to be there when they filmed any of them. Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't able to experience part of the filming.
You almost made it to Farragut, I remember.
Yeah, almost. And there was something came up.
Mm-hmm.
That, and so those are my only regrets. Was not being able to experience that part. But, one of the coolest moments of my life was the first time I went to visit the sets. And I don't remember who it was at the door, but they knew I had never been there before. I think I might have walked in. Did I walk in? I may have walked in with you. I'm not sure. But
I think you did, yeah.
I think it was, yeah. And whoever was letting us into the set part,
mm-hmm.
It was like you were like, it's his first time here. And I remember because the set was closed, and he was like, get really close to the door. So my nose is like right here. And so when the turbolift door opens, and from the outside, it's just a bare piece of plywood,
mm-hmm.
But it opens, and when it opens, because it opens into the corridor, and the corridor is so encompassing that unless you look straight up,
right,
you're in there.
You're in the ship.
Yeah, and so there's this feeling when the doors parted, where your heart suddenly is up here, because it's just such a weird. It's a weird feeling. I'm telling you guys, like, I know you've seen it, but it was such a cool experience. And then I kind of got to experience that from like what you did, Michael, the other side of it, that when we went down to the next the Farragut Fest, and I brought friends with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, you guys go first. And I could see that.
See their reaction.
That joy, when they got to experience the door opening and that kind of thing. So, probably the best compliment I got. It was so we were there for one of the Farragut Fest, and you guys had the lights on. You know, like all the lights were on in the whole corridors and the colored lights. And I walked by, and Mark Maddox was talking with some people against the wall, as I just happened to be walking by, and he said, "I just had the weirdest feeling. It's like I'm looking at this, and in my head, this is the Enterprise. Bobby doesn't belong on the Enterprise, but there he is walking through the show. You know." That it was that encompassing, the illusion is that encompassing of how good that set looks with all those lights on and everything. It's just, everybody that worked on that, I mean, they're beautiful.
Yeah,
As a matter of fact,
I was asked on the interview I did earlier with Vance, who was on earlier. He came on. And I was asked, he asked me, he said, "What was your first experience?" I said, "Well, mine was different because I saw the sets being built.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw them in stages. So, when I saw everything, it wasn't like what you're just describing,
Right.
because I had gotten a lot of the magic taken away,
right,
because of that. But as you said, you had fun watching other people's reaction.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what I got afterwards. Is I enjoy, as I said, I've said this before on Roger's program. I saw one lady, and I had seen her go by me many times at a Farragut Fest, and I just made, like I normally am, I make a flippant comment, and I looked at her and I said, "So how many times have you been through the corridors?" And she looked at me and got a frowny, sad face and went, "6 times." And she almost just started to cry because she was so happy.
Yeah.
And it's those reactions is what I got to experience later. I didn't get the reaction you're talking about seeing it that, because I saw it being constructed. So.
Right. And going with, because the first time I went, I was with another friend, and so there was another Michael. I'm surrounded by him.
You are, yeah.
But we had gone, and so it was his first time visiting them as well. And so we also had that added excitement of we're geeking out over seeing this stuff together for the first time.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot of, oh my God, is that, that happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And because my first real exposure to anything was seeing you when you guys were bringing like the Romulan bridge set to shows. I saw you guys at was it Treklana with the that was the first time I had seen, that was the first thing I had seen that you guys had built. And so and that was really cool. But then, there's a little magic moment in each one of them. Like I said, stepping into the corridor was cool. Standing on the transporter pad, all that's cool. Obviously, sitting in the captain's chair is awesome. I did do that. But my favorite spot of the sets was standing in the turbo lift at the back of the bridge, looking out over the bridge. Because in the original series, that's not we never see it from that angle. You never really see people walk out of, you don't, like, the camera never walks out of the turbo lift into the bridge. So to my knowledge, I don't remember ever seeing it from that angle. We're always shooting it at them coming out of it. And so standing in there with the way the shadows from the grate kind of fall over you, and that was my favorite spot in the sets, was being able to stand there and just kind of take it all in.
Just to be dumb, I think there was one original series episode, Nomad. The camera was right behind Nomad,
yeah, it could be,
and I believe it exited. That might have been one of the only shots.
That might have been the only one, though.
Yeah,
because it's still a unique perspective that you're describing, Bobby.
Yeah, because usually it was and somebody comes out, usually in a hurry, or somebody's coming out or McCoy's coming out commenting on something they're saying. So it was, because there's some great shots. The one where the Deadly, I think it's the Deadly Years. I'm terrible with titles, but where they're old and and the Kirk comes onto the bridge at just the right moment, young, and he almost flies out of the Turbolift, you know. Thank you. I kept wanting to say transporter, and that wasn't right. You know, so you can get there's like two really cool ones of that, like him coming out for that, and he's young again, and he takes control and saves the day, and then that one where, you know, with Spock's dad, where, you know, he's been stabbed, but he fakes it to get on the bridge, and, you know, I both of those are my Kirk coming out of the Turbolift moments that always stick with me. So. Deadly Ears. That's the Spock prequel that didn't happen.
Oh, it's pretty good.
Sorry,
I like that one. Yes.
Sorry, I did say we had a question. I'm sorry, I did ramble, but I'm good at that.
Yes. No, it's all good. We did have several. Ross did ask earlier. He may have missed it, but you touched on it just a bit, and then I believe you did discuss it last time on how you got started.
Yeah.
I
started. Well, like I said, I started doing stuff. By the time I was in high school, I kind of knew I wanted to try to write. I didn't realize what it took to write as a career, but that was kind of where I started wanting to write, and it was comics. I wanted to write comics. I wanted to, you know, because, man, in the 80s, you know, comics was, you know, that was a big time for comics. And so I wanted to do that. And so my first published thing was in 1992. It was a very small indie thing, you know. Yeah, there was no money involved. I didn't make any money, but there was a book, you know. And then I was still working. I spent so many years writing the first chapter of things because I'd send them off and no publisher would be interested, and I never wrote more than the first chapter or two. And then in 1992, I sold my first thing. But I also, in 1992, I started doing comic strips, one-panel gag strips for a magazine that ran once a month. And I did that for 12 years. So there was a nice 12-year span of me being published once a month. Locally, it was a local thing. It was a family magazine. And then, in 2000, I sold my first comic strip to a real publisher, you know, money changing hands, all that stuff. I had reached out in 1999. I'd come home from work, and I remember it was the weekend. It was a Friday, and I had a miserable week at work, and I was not happy. I was not getting anywhere I hated my day job. I was not getting anywhere with my writing, and so I remember getting on the internet, and this was when, you know, it was all dial-up internet, and, you know, but I remember that Friday night I went up and found every website for every comic book publisher, and if they had an email address, I emailed them. Here's who I am. Here's what I do. I'd love to send you some samples. I sent out a lot. You know, I received one response, and that response was, "Thank you, but unfortunately, sales have really been tough on us. We're actually shutting down. We appreciate it, but, you know, good luck to you. Think blah blah blah." Yeah. So I was very disappointed. No responses, nothing. Went on about my life. About a year later, that guy was working for another publisher, and he owned the character that was there, but he was not a writer. He was just the artist. And so the writer he had was leaving, and so he contacted me, remembering me from the year before, and says, "Would you like to try out for it?" And so I tried out for it, and I ended up writing that book for 4 years. And so that was fun. So in 2000, I sold my first professional comic script, did that for a while. And then in 2005, during that time, I was writing Evil Ways. Evil Ways was my second attempt. I wrote one novel that was awful. And then, you know, your first one always sucks, you know, but I finished it. And so it made me want to do another one. So I wrote Evil Ways. And I sold Evil Ways in 2004, and it came out in 2005. And it has been steadily busy since then, because I was able to take Evil Ways, and my experience with that publisher was not pleasant. It was not a good experience for many reasons that I don't want to go into. But I had a book. I had a book in my hand that I could then show to other publishers and say, "Look, I can write. You know, here's something I wrote."
That makes a difference.
Yes, and because whenever you meet people, especially editors or publishers, if you go up, and because people are always coming to them trying to pitch them stuff,
Sure.
And when you're talking to somebody and you say, "Oh, I'm a writer," and they go, "Well," the first question they're going to vary,
What have you
what
written?
have you
What have you
written?
written?
And if you go, "Well, I'm working on you can see the glaze, you know. You can really, I mean, I've witnessed it. But if say, "Well, what have you written?" and you say, "Oh, well, I have this one novel out," and you put the book in their hand, the first thing you do when you give somebody a book, they're going to look at the cover, they're going to flip it up and look at the back cover. They might flip it open, read a couple paragraphs or whatever. You've bought yourself a minute. And that led to other work. So I was able to take that bad experience and use it to do some work for other publishers. And that helped me then find other work. Because like Evil Ways led to Lance Star, which I'm still writing today, which led to Domino Lady, which I'm still writing today, which led to, and I can trace it. What this book got me this book. And so that kind of thing helps, is being able to have that stuff. So anyway, Demon Slayer was my first professional comic for Avatar Press, and Evil Ways was my first professional novel sale in 2005. And it's been, I've been busy since 2005. So I'm very happy that I've been able to, because until recently, it's all work for other publishers. So that I've been able to find publishers that not only like my work to publish it, but now will call me up and say, "We need this. Can you do that?" Like earlier, like during this year, the company Moonstone, who does Domino Lady, contacted me and they said, we have this company character we need to do something with, and we would like you to write 3 stories with him teaming up with Domino Lady. So great. Can you do that? Sure. Oh, by the way, we need a Lone Ranger story too. Can you do that? Yeah, no problem. So I've built those relationships to where now sometimes that happens, where people can come to me and go, "Can you do this?" And then I can go, "When do you need it?" That's usually the first question, because I'm booked to here. If you need it before that, I don't know. If you can wait, I can work you in, and because publishing is juggling, because it's because you don't just do one thing and you're done and you go on to the next thing. You do it, you send it off, you work on the next thing, then edits come in, then you stop, and galleys come in, you stop. But there's a lot of that. So, but I've built up those relationships with multiple publishers. So I've worked with several different publishers, and that has been wonderful. I've gotten to meet some really wonderful people, and I've got to write characters that, like I got to write the Green Hornet. I got to write the Lone Ranger. I got to write, we adapted an Edgar Rice Burroughs novel into a graphic novel.
Oh, I remember that one. You showed me the book.
Yeah.
Was that the convention in Birmingham?
Yeah. It was at the Earth's Core. It was
yeah.
We did that. That was that's probably the best selling thing I've ever done in my career to this point. So I've gotten to do that. I've gotten to write other people's characters. That's partly, it's exciting that people trust you to write their characters. It's also terrifying because you don't want to screw up their characters. So I've gotten to do a lot of stuff like that. So there's a lot of fun to what I do. That, like I said, we talked earlier about, sometimes you don't do things for the money. Sometimes you do things for, your buddy's character has been picked up, and they're wanting to do an anthology to kind of help this new series, and you're like, "Great, yeah, I'll write a story for you," and so there's a lot of that. I mentioned the community stuff earlier. There's a lot of that where, there are people that I know that, "Hey, I need a story. Can you can you help me out?" Sure. And I would do the same for them. So there's a lot of that. And so that helps us. It also helps us promote each other, and, if I'm in a book that's somebody else's book and I just wrote a story, I still promote that just like I promote my stuff. It's, it's all part of what, just getting the word out. So, but yeah, so Evil Ways was my first novel. If I know that, I rambled, but that's kind of
that's it.
There's purpose to this story. You're not rambling, young man. I thank you for sharing that. We are getting near the end. I know last time, Bobby, like, "What do you mean the end?" I think we went 5 hours. No, this old man is nearing the end. I think we're going to be cutting it in a little bit, and I do
Mm-hmm.
apologize.
Oh, that's
But
quite
that
all
just
right.
means we'll get Bobby
Get
back
to
in
have
a
you
little
back
more
Yeah, we'll
again.
often.
do it again. Yeah.
But Bobby is everywhere else. Check out BobbyNash.com. He's everywhere. And, Bobby, I'm going to equate you to someone, and I don't think you're going to get angry at me at this, but I've
Maybe.
said this in the past, and I'm sorry that he passed away. I really genuinely miss him because he was really kind to us. He was kind to the fandom, and I mean the fandom as a whole. And everyone knows the experience I had with him in person. It's a funny story, and I could have been turned off by it, but I wasn't because I was grateful to him to begin with.
Mhm.
And he did recently pass away within the last few years, but he was a good man. And Bobby, I see the time that you spend with your fans and the fandom, dude. You are another, Richard Hatch, man. And
Oh
forgive me
wow.
for
Okay.
equating, dude.
I
He
did.
he loved equating.
Yeah. I did know Richard.
You did, yes.
Yes.
He was a great soul.
We talked quite a few times. I first met. I'd seen him at conventions. I first met him. There was a short time where I interviewed people for magazines, and I remember he and
Oh,
I.
great! My
Yeah.
ego just went like this because you've
And,
done this. Go ahead.
yeah, and so he and I remember we had a great long conversation at his table at Dragon Con one year, but it was so busy it's hard to interview at a con.
Sure.
And so he and I talked several times over the phone and things like that, and for the interview. But it's one of those things. Like I said, we build this community. We get used to seeing people at conventions. I mean, we weren't like best buds or anything, but we knew each other enough to say, "Hey, Bobby, hey, Richard," at cons. And so, yes, wonderful man. He was one of those. Like I said, I watched people and how they dealt with, how they dealt with fandom or people coming to their table, and he was certainly one that I watched how he interacted with people. He was great at that. Another one that really stuck out to me, George Perez, comic artist and writer, fantastic with people that come to his table. I don't think George has ever met a person that he didn't treat like they were one of his best friends,
Yeah.
and so stuff like that. So I learn a lot from and I could probably rattle off 20 or 30 more other names that do this, but I learned so much from watching how they interact with people that it teaches. It's kind of a teaching moment. I learn. Why did I enjoy talking to this person? And it's like, oh, because that person, they seem to care that I was there. Because we've all seen people that you come up to their table, you say, "Hi, I want to," and they're like, it's go away, give me your money, go away. We've met those people; they're out there, and I didn't want to be that guy. And I had an experience early in my career where, especially like in 2004, I got the contract for Evil Ways the week before Dragon Con. Okay, this is my first novel. So I go to Dragon Con to ask for advice from other writers because this is my first contract. I don't know what I'm doing. And I was very put off by how many of the authors that I did talk to, not all of them, but there were several that just didn't want to deal with me. Put me off, or one said, why should I help you? You're my competition. And I just remember it was kind of demoralizing. And at that point, I made this thing. It's like, I will never not answer questions. If someone asks a question and I can answer it, I will. I don't always know the answer, but if I do, that was just kind of a decision I made because I knew how I felt at that moment where people didn't want to like talk to me. And so I was it's like, okay, I don't want to. So you learn good and bad from watching other people. And like I said, Richard was one of the best at just how he treated everybody, and he was a fun guy to be around.
He was genuine.
Yeah, and he was big at the cons. I mean, he was there's quite a number of actors that I've seen that have really embraced fandom. A couple others I'll give you that I was impressed by when I saw it, because I just happened to come down the escalator behind them, and that's Robert O'Reilly and J.G. Hertzler,
Oh
Martok and
yes.
Gowron from Star Trek. I
Wow.
was behind. I came down the escalator at DragonCon one year, and we were in the Hyatt, and the fan tables are on those ballroom levels outside the ballroom, and we came to one, and the Klingon fan tables, the Klingons hung out on this one level, and they were heading in, but before they went to their table, their first stop upon arriving, they still had their luggage. Their first stop was to stop at the Klingon table, the Klingon groups, and make their presence known, because they came off the escalator going, come on, and they were rock stars. And I thought that, what, these guys love the people, their fans, they love these people that are part of the Klingon groups.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff sticks with me. It's like, oh, they get it. They know that these people, because really, at the end of the day, we are nothing without the people that like our stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I can write books all day, but if nobody reads them, I'm just writing books all day. So having that interaction and having people, it is a fabulous feeling to have someone come up and tell you how much they enjoyed something, or if something meant something to them, or different, just that you feel that it made an impact on their life, and that's pretty cool. And it's still weird. I've been doing this a long time, but I still feel weird when I find out that people have read my stuff. I know I shouldn't, but I do. It's just, and you can always tell. I mean, people come up and they'll start asking you questions, and I'm like, oh my God, you read it. And so, but it's yeah. I mean, I want people to know that it's appreciated when they do read the stuff. So.
Oh yeah. And what is really cool is you have so much material, so many different storylines, so many things going on. It draws everyone in. And this isn't a shot against anyone else. I'm just saying that when it comes to you, there's so much to choose from.
Well, yeah. Well,
Tom Clancy
a
was
variety,
Jack Ryan.
A variety of things.
Yes, yeah. Remember, Tom Clancy was Jack Ryan, and that was it.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, it was great though. But that was it.
Well, one of the things that with being a small press and and an indie writer, I guess because I've worked for a couple of big publishers, but I don't have an agent. I've had no luck finding an agent. I've actually had agents tell me my work is not sellable, even though I have over 150 stories in print.
But it's not sellable,
right? But it just means they don't know how to sell it. So so it's a hard thing. But the big publishing has changed too. I mean, there's only 4 left for the big publishers.
Yeah, a lot of them merged and gone out.
It's a tough nut to crack. But knowing that, we talked earlier about, you go into these things knowing, I realize that's not the avenue. That's not a path that's going to work. That's for me. Now, not to say it could never happen. You never know. But that's not a path that I'm shooting for, because I would rather build what I've got than wait 3 years for one thing to come out, or 2 years, or whatever, because it is a long lead time. And so, it's just like I don't promote to bookstores. Like when I first started, you tried to get your stuff in bookstores because that's where people went and got the stuff. I don't promote to bookstores because bookstores do not generally stock books by guys at my level. They'll order it if somebody comes in and says, I want it, but they're not going to stock it. So I have adjusted my marketing and promotion. They're not my focus. My focus is going straight to the reader. So I do promotional things, or things to reach the reader who's like, do you like to read? Here's something. And so it takes a different path on how you promote and market things. So so you asked earlier how things have changed, and that's a big one too, because I have when I first started writing, print on demand was not a viable option like it is today. It was there, but if you did print on demand, that just meant or self-published, that just meant you were a failure as a writer, and that was your only recourse.
Mm-hmm.
That is not the case today. There are self-publishers and small press publishers that are putting out books that rival the big four, and in terms of not only quality, but great covers, great writing, great editing, the whole deal. So it's changed a lot in that way, for it to where it's a little easier for smaller press and creative people who couldn't get past the agents to get into the big companies to have their work out there. But it also means we have to, as the creators, work harder because there's more competition or there's more. We're a drop in the ocean, but the ocean is bigger than it used to be.
Yes.
Because there's a lot more people doing what we're doing. So you have to do stuff, so that's where having the quality comes in, or doing or whatever you can do to get yourself noticed, because that's the hardest part, is getting noticed.
Yes. And you are out there. I know you are, but seeing just on your website everything, and then we thank you for the tiny blurb I don't take myself seriously, so I always thank everyone for the little blurb that we get on their author page. And wow, that's big for us as well, because we just enjoy doing this. And Bobby, this is your second or third visit with us now?
Second.
Okay, yes.
We'll have to do it again, though. We'll have to do this again.
Yeah, and I thank you for that, and I appreciate the line too, that it'll be fun, and that was before we went live. So,
well, you know what? I like you said, I do a lot of this type of stuff, and man, let's just say when you have a pandemic, being able to do video stuff is awesome. Imagine had the pandemic happened in 1982.
Oh my goodness.
That'd
have been so different.
Yeah, at least we could still do things and see people, and have some face to face, even if it's through the computer. So so in the last 2 years, I have done a whole lot of video stuff, which is why this one clean corner of my office looks like it does.
Oh, I needed to close in. Darn! If I would have done.
That's the one corner. This is the clean corner of my office. Yes, if you look over there, there's stacks of books. You look over there, there's stacks of books. If you look over there, there's a pile of something. So yeah, it's but I set this up just for this, and actually, with new books coming out, I'm going to be swapping out some posters soon. And but yeah, so it was like, oh, I'm going to be on camera. Let's make the office look good. So yeah, so stuff like that, and I can do things like I can point and say, well, there's my published work. Oops, I don't fall over. I can point and say, there's the published work if people ask, or so different.
It looks great, and I want to thank you for taking the time for doing that. I gave up. I'm in my office. I see my clients, and they sit here in front of me. That's another desk right there. It's rather open. It looks bad. I have that, and I have another desk over there and another one. I'm in my garage. It is what it is. I know that the next iteration, I already have plans. I'm not there yet. I tried the green screen. Unfortunately, for the way my desk set up and everything, I gave up.
Have you seen the new green screen they have that actually attaches to your chair?
I've seen the commercials or the ones on Facebook where the guy's on his bike.
So I like that. I was like, if I was going to get one, that would be what I'd want to get, the one that's like attached to my chair. But
you don't need it because
I don't need it because and plus it comes in handy too, because I can go, oh well, if
which is great
point. And so but
Bobby, will you tell us about your Patreon page? I have it at the bottom. I had it earlier. Let me go back to it right there.
It's patreon.com/Bobby Nash. We have, Patreon for those. It's a patron of the art thing. I have tiers that are $1 a month. With that, you do get the two serialized books each week, or 2 chapters each week. I do a lot of a daily blog about my writing progress. I share other stuff, it's not everything I share to social media because I don't want to bog them down, but I give them some insights, let them know behind the scenes stuff. Sometimes I wrote this today, and I share it just to get feedback. So for $1 a month, you get a lot of that. If you're in the 5 or above, you get new book comes out, you get an ebook copy of it. If you get up to like the higher tiers, a paper book comes out, you get a copy of it.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I was going through my back catalog of books and I was doing a ebook a month for the 5 and up, but I've caught up with my backlog. So yeah, they're not getting them quite as often now just because I've run out of back stock to put up. But if you sign up today for the $5 a month and you don't mind digging through posts over the last 5 years, you can find every book I've written to this point that's published. For $5.
There it is, folks.
If you don't mind digging, it's there. But it's fun. I have a small following. I think I've got 14 or 15 followers on there, and I share with them stuff when I can. And
are these the ones right there?
Yes. Yep, and they're on my website. Also, anything Ben Books publishes, there is a page in the book that has their names listed. I actually have one right there. There's a special thanks page, and their names are listed. So anything Ben Books publishes are there. They're on the Bobby Nash site. They're on the Ben Books site. They're on the Abraham Snow site. They're on the Lance Starr site. So they all get listed there. I share tidbits with them. Like I said, I do almost daily writing blog. If I share a bunch of stuff that day, I may skip a day so I don't overload them. Because that was one thing they said, you post too much. So, so I do try to keep, and so they get they get stuff early, when I put out anything Ben Books, they get before anybody else. And certainly they get the serialized stuff first. And I sometimes do giveaways, or I've done artwork for patrons. I'm gonna give away some art. What do you want? Things like that. I try to keep it fun and interactive. I try to make sure they're getting plenty of bang for their buck. So, but yeah, so it's cool. And like I said, I've got like a small, like 14 or 15 people, and it's it's cool. They're wonderful people, and yes, I'm very happy.
No, that is cool.
Now, if we could bump that up to about 100 people a month, that'd be awesome. But
there it is, folks.
I still have bills to pay. But really, what I get out of it too. I mean, yes, that is Michael Stackpole. Michael Stackpole is a patron. That was awesome. I've known Michael off and on. We've done a lot of panels together. He is a fantastic writer. I love his work. And but it's like I said, the biggest upside to Patreon too is it's given me this opportunity to do the serialized novels, which means I put out a couple extra books a year I might not have done otherwise. So, which helps me because as a business, I can't make money if I don't have something to sell. Right. So having the book, being able to finish more books has been nice. And and the camaraderie. There's I get a lot of good feedback from them. From the patrons. They ask good questions. I mean, it's a wonderful relationship, and I'm happy. I'm happy to have them, and yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That's cool, Bobby. That is absolutely awesome, and I thank you for taking us down the Patreon and letting us know of the different tiers. Like I knew the first 3. I didn't see the other 2.
Yeah, it's a cool little thing. I mean, and there are some people that it's a good way to support. If you like certain authors, or not just authors, there's authors, writers, or actors and artists, and cosplayers and musicians that do them. I mean, it's a good way to, it's a good way to kind of like, it's I guess it's the modern day equivalent of the fan club. Yeah, it's probably because remember there used to be fan clubs. Pay $5, you get. It's that kind of thing. It's the modern equivalent of that, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
Didn't think about it that way.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just another avenue for reaching out, because I do have a couple people that follow me on Patreon who won't follow me on social media because again, I post too much. So so that's a place they can follow me without getting everything. Because a lot of times I'll post stuff on Facebook and Twitter or Instagram that has nothing to do with my writing. It's just something I felt like posting. I tend not to put that stuff on Patreon. It's just, it's more
Just
the
your
business side of
stuff.
thing. Yeah, it's the business side of
Mhm.
thing, or the daily word, the blog, or so yeah, so they're not getting inundated with all that stuff, and I get that. So I try to meter out what I post in different places, because a lot of times, I post stuff to regular social media, like the road trips. I post pictures from that, or
Yes.
like I posted something today about going to see Ghostbusters, or today is National Author Day, so I posted something about that. Good night, Jason. And so a
Thanks,
lot of different
Jason.
things like that. Different cool things I can post, and I'll, like, when we're done, I've posted 3 or 4 times today that we're doing this, and
Thank you. Yes.
I'll
It's a lot of
post something after we're done, and I'll get it all up on the website, and so it's all part of the just letting people know you're there, and yeah, it's I'm, again, like I said earlier, I'm all self-taught. This is all stuff I've learned either just on my own, watching other people, or by screwing up so badly that I learned from my mistake. That so it's a work in progress. What works today doesn't work next week. So, and you have to be
understood.
careful, because you can spend so much time promoting that you're not writing. So again, it becomes that juggling act that. And as a publisher, I'm a one-man band. You know, I'm the publisher, I'm the production guy, I'm the ad guy.
You're it.
I'm not the cover guy. I do have people that are better at that do that. But I spend a good chunk of my day reaching out to podcasts, reaching out to websites that deal with books or certain types of books, conventions, bookstores that might want to do events. Yeah, so that becomes a big part of the day too, and it's all necessary. But you have to be careful, because you realize I'm not writing anything, and so you have to kind of juggle that. And now that I'm doing with the snow shorts, I have other writers
Yeah.
working. I'm publishing other writers, which I never thought I would do. I'm reaching out for them as well, trying to get, hey, we're going to pitch this snow podcast, this snow topic to a podcast. Do you guys want to be on it? So it's a lot of back and forth trying to get other, or Stuart, my narrator, hey, you want to, this podcast is, do you want that so there's a lot of that. So thank you, Ross. I will check that out after I am done here.
As a matter of fact, Ross has been involved with Starship Farragut as well. Was it Farragut, or is it
No,
Potemkin Pictures?
Potemkin.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. He says,
Very nice.
I'm not afraid of his social media. As a matter of fact, Ross has been on with us in the past. He was a guest.
He was a guest one, yeah.
But he's spent time with us right here in the chat room much and often. And Ross, I think, there's a reprimand.
Yep.
Potemkin, not Farragut.
Yeah, but see, again, that's that whole community thing we talked about earlier. I mean, you meet people through, podcasts or video or conventions, and like I said, there are people if it weren't I have friends, like good friends, who, if it wasn't for a convention, I probably would have never met them.
Wow.
That's probably most of the people in my life are people I've met through doing this. So, Michael, that's how we met.
That's how we met.
Was at a convention, and so this community has been really important to me, because like I said, most of the people in my life are people I've met through either conventions or publishing or writing or whatever, and and that's wonderful, because it's people that we like the same stuff.
Yeah.
Like I can talk to my dad about how cool it is to work on Farragut or to write this, and my dad goes, doesn't mean anything to him,
Right.
But to him, the big one for him was when I told him I visited him and my mom after I was hired to write the Green Hornet stories. And I said, hey, I got hired to write the Green Hornet. And my dad goes, finally, something I've heard of. And so I'm like, okay, this is a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah. Quick, tiny comment on that would be, I've been doing this for 13 years now. I know I'm no good at it. My family doesn't watch. My brother does actually now more often since I've done video. But my sister, of all things, I mentioned Richard Hash. I grew what he was my. Yeah. And I interviewed him 3 times. He was on our programs 4 times.
Yeah.
But you thought I was screwing around on the internet. Whatever.
I knew that the geeky stuff I liked had made it mainstream. When my mother, a few years back, my mother called me at home one night and she goes, I have a question. Explain this Thor guy to me.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh, you mean the guy from the comics that you tried to get me to stop reading as a kid because you thought they were a bad influence? That Thor?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so I knew it had been mainstream, and like when they watched my Farragut episode, I asked them what they think of it, and my mom she used the term beaming correctly, and I was so proud.
Yeah, we realized when we hit mainstream was my brother worked at Disneyland, who's been at my brother Luis Noriega, the one that cannot spell my first name, but anyway, that's a whole other issue. It's Siri, he claims. He loves to chat up the guests and everything. And someone from Australia, he was chatting them up, and they had heard our broadcasts from here on people that we'd interviewed in Australia. And my brother joked, he had mentioned this to many others. We're huge in Australia. Don't know why, but we're well down under.
I was at a convention last weekend, and this guy comes up to my table, and I don't know him. He comes up to the table, and he's looking at my books, and he goes, Bobby Nash? I'm like, yeah. He goes, I heard you on the Needless Things podcast, which was a podcast a friend of mine ran. And he's like, I haven't done Needless Things in at least 3 years. But he's like, oh my God, you've been on that show. And he knew that from
there.
So it's like sometimes people don't read your stuff, but they still know who you are from things like that. Or I used to co-host a podcast, and I've had people that still follow me because of my time doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And or the acting, I still get people who recognize me from, oh, you were on that kind of thing. So yeah.
But that is so cool because you did that as well. We talked about that last time, and maybe next time we could talk about that some more. But I feel bad because I know, Bobby, our conversation would still be going. And
yes, but you need some sleep. You need
sleep.
Well,
I am a bit tired. Like I said, I am going to go back to work today. I was a bad boy. I missed my call in where they called me because I never do that. So they knew I was tired. Yeah, folks, I've done about 36 hours in the last 2 days. I'm a tad tired, but it's not about me. It's about them. I was lucky I didn't volunteer, Bobby. I was voluntold.
I know that feeling well too.
But you know what? I did it with a smile because I was told. It was a joke. An email went out. They said, we need people that are fast learners, good communicators, and are empathetic. And my supervisor said, you got 2 of the 3. So I made a joke of it, and I posted it on Facebook. I said, okay, folks, guess which one? And no one got it right. Apparently, it was the empathy. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm bad at. I'm like, really? And yes, there was a moment yesterday where, and I may tell that story another day, but I did snap. And someone else was able to cover for me. And my joke was, I'm a clerk. I gave you an instruction. Push the red button. How difficult is that? Push the red button. How difficult is that? Push the red button. So, yeah, I did snap yesterday. But I held my composure. I snapped up here.
Oh, that's it.
But everyone could tell.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. It didn't go well. But beyond that, it was great. I do want to give a shout out to a resident in Carson, California. Her name is Fatima. She showed up with 3 dozens of donuts, coffee for all the volunteers that were there. It just blew us away. And there were other things that happened as well. And it was just, wow. It's not us, folks. It's the residents that are going through it. And I was
and that's stuff too that
glad to be a part of it. This is when it's real, Bobby, when you actually, when you see your efforts actually helping.
Mm-hmm. Well, it also shows there's still a lot of good in people. It's people are generally good, and helpful, and try, come out and do things. And so, yeah, I still have hope for the future of mankind or humankind or whatever you want to say it. I still have hope.
Yeah, I do too. Yes. So
You know, and hey, over the last 2 years, I've learned I can survive an apocalypse.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and if I can survive that, you know, so yeah.
Yeah.
Because yeah, that's what I've been calling it instead of the pandemic. I've just been calling it the apocalypse, and
Or the
you know,
snow apocalypse.
yes, the snow apocalypse. Yeah. So just I mean, we've survived more. Like in just me personally, I've survived more in the last 5 years. Probably the hardest 5 years of my life, and and I'm still here. You know, and I can still smile, and I can still so it tells me I can survive a lot. And in the moments, I wasn't always as composed.
Right.
But we are pretty resilient people, and we can adapt. And you know I don't think the world will ever go back to exactly what it was before. I mean,
No. Mm-mm.
so much has changed. And I mean, and not all because of bad things, but like good things too. Like this thing we're doing right now, the video uh, communication has really ramped up because people had to do it. I don't see it going away.
No.
This is a wonderful tool for not just for what we're doing and talking and being geeky, but it's a wonderful tool for work. It's a wonderful tool for someone's going to find some way to make this a creative thing. There's opportunities. We joked about I did one, and there were like 9 of us total. And so when I was looking at it, there's 9 boxes of heads, and I'm like, oh my god, we can play like Hollywood Squares on here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bobby, I think we might have
We talked about that.
Yeah,
Yes, I
I think
wonder
we
if you
did.
were in on it. I
yeah,
wonder if
yeah, because it's like
that's
it
funny
could.
if it was
There's a lot.
us.
Yeah, there's a lot here that you can do with that. This could be. I mean, you know, certainly with the way you guys like with what you're doing here with this, with you hosts and guests, and this could be the future of talk shows. Not all talk shows have to be live in front of a studio audience. With
Mm-hmm.
there's multiple ways to talk to different people. I did a podcast last weekend just talking about a movie. We talked about Captain America Winter Soldier with a guy who's recording it in Japan.
Oh,
You
wow.
know, it was awesome.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So so the fact that we can talk to people around the world, we can,
Oh yeah.
it's that I love that. And then there's a lot to this stuff. This I'm blanking on. See, you can tell us late. I'm starting to like forget how to say things. But yeah, it's wonderful that we can communicate. Because again, like I said, imagine had this happened in the 70s or the 80s. Where we were already fairly insulated. You can't. You could, phone calls cost money then. So
Oh
that
yeah.
wasn't even an
Long
option.
distance calls,
Yeah,
right?
certainly you could. There was no video and no internet. Imagine. Imagine the repercussions of what would have happened if this happened then. Whereas now we could still have communication. And I noticed one of the first things that happened after the quarantine went into effect, there were a lot of creative people stepped up and started offering free content just to keep people entertained, which is a big. I mean, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it really is, because it keeps you
Yeah,
from,
it
because we
was.
went for, because there were no
Actually,
new TV
Bobby,
shows.
yes.
Yeah, because there were no
Yes,
new
you are
TV
right.
shows happening. There were,
Nothing.
movies went on hold for a while, but yet I'm watching all these authors going, okay, I'm going to read my novel to you guys. I'm going to read short stories to you guys, or we're going to, musicians, we're going to play
Oh yeah,
for you.
a lot of musicians did that.
Yeah, we're going to sit down and we're going to just play from our living room and let you enjoy that. There's a lot of that. And that's, people coming together, and, again, that hope for humanity thing. There's a lot of people that was just like, they weren't going, oh, how can I make money off this? They were like, nope. What do people need? People need a break. They need an escape. Great. Let's give them something. And so, I'm curious to see as we continue on and we finally come out of the apocalypse, and I'm curious to see what the next step is, how we continue to grow this stuff, because without conventions for 2 years, we were still doing virtual panels. So the conventions were going, hey, yeah, we'll do it. We'll do the convention online. You could still sell stuff, but they were selling stuff. They had stores for the convention. And so I'm curious to see. I don't want to see that go away. I like that outreach. Can't get to Dragon Con this year. Well, that's okay. You can still watch it from wherever. You want to go. You can't make it to this con. Well, here, all the dealers have their page on our website. You can buy directly from that, and they'll mail it to you. So I love that. I love that it's helping that kind of that community again pull together for the cons and stuff. So yeah, I hope that continues. I'm curious to see, where this advance in technology takes us. And certainly, like we've seen a couple instances I know where people are filming stuff, and you need someone to do something on a view screen or something, or you can film that here without flying that person. There's multiple opportunities to do things, and I think it's wonderful, and I hope that and certainly I know with you guys we're doing film, I'm sure you've taken advantage of that, and and film things without people being right there. Like with Homecoming, I know Stan Lee is in Homecoming, the Farragut episode, and I'm pretty sure Stan did not fly down to Kingsland.
He actually did it in L.A.
Yeah, so stuff like it. So so the beauty of that you can do that and film stuff in multiple locations, and it's brilliant.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
it's incredible. It changed my life on my side endeavor, which is becoming my primary. Last year, when everything shut down, I was still in business, probably out of stupid sake. I didn't close my doors, but I had been doing FaceTime. I had been doing Skype and Duo connections with my clients. And it just amped. I shot up 100 clients last year because everyone else shot down. But I was ready to go. I had the video connection. So StreamYard, which we use now, was just an extension of using FaceTime or Duo or whatever. I have
Zoom. I think Zoom was, we used Zoom for a bit. And,
I was using my iPad mini, which is right here on my top of my desk, and I would be speaking to my clients, right? Almost like the TNG setup, imagine.
Yeah. Well, I filmed I had a small role in a movie that they filmed with a regular camera. It was just, but it could shoot video. And so it looked like just a regular, but they were able to shoot that. And then they picked up the pickups with their iPhone, and it looked, just fine. And so, so there's a lot of, different ways we can do things with this technology. And, I have, like, as a publisher and a writer, I'm always thinking of how can I promote with this stuff? I've thought about, because I created this fictional town for a lot of my books, but it's based very much on the town I live in. Sorry, I talk with my hands. But
it's all good.
Yeah. So you guys, 2 hours, you guys know that.
We do.
But I've thought about doing video of, me going around the town and pointing out where things happen in the books, like almost like what was that show? The Unsolved Mysteries.
Yes.
The guy went, and so I've thought about doing stuff like that, and I want to do it. These things take time and effort, and help. I can't do that as a selfie. Someone has to come film me. But there's a lot of ways to do that where you can get in. If I ever feel the need to do it, I can get on Facebook Live and just go, hey, I'm going to be on Facebook Live this afternoon. Bring your questions. And people come, and like what we're doing here, asking questions, and I answer them, and read a little, promote something. It's wonderful that instant connection with people.
It is. It's great.
Yeah, because when I first got into fandom in the late 70s, early 80s, you had to write a letter, put a stamp on it, put it in the mail, then hope they printed it, and in 2 months, 3 months later, when that newsletter or book came out, you hope they printed your letter, and then maybe someone would reply. I mean, I know I sound so old. Back in my day.
Wait, Michael and I are nodding because we did the same thing. I know,
but I still feel old saying that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I cut out the little thing on the back of the Star Wars action figure, put my stamps on there to get remember, for the Empire Strikes Back, the action figures, they had the special set where you could buy the back. No, buy a certain amount of action figures, and they would give you the Hoth backpack sets.
Yep.
Remember that? I did. I got them. They sent me like 4 or 6 of them. It took like 6 months. Put a stamp on it. Sent my little cutouts, my proof of purchases. Took 6 months. I finally did get it.
And if you weren't lucky enough to live close to people that shared your interests, you were alone. You know,
Yeah.
I was alone as a comic book creator when I was a kid, or reader as a kid. But when I moved, we moved when I was 12. And I remember we were 2 weeks into the school year when we moved. But the first people I met were guys that read comics.
Mm.
And I had read I had read some comics, but I was not a comic. You know, I read Spider-Man, and I knew who Spider-Man, Superman, Batman was. You know, but I met these guys, and they were all buying their books, and then they'd read them and swap them with each other. So there's like and so my first week of after we moved, I get introduced to things like the X-Men and Thor and Captain America, and all these books are the Teen Titans, and and suddenly, oh my God, my people, and it was great. It was wonderful, and to have that. But if you don't have that, it was tough. Whereas now, you just go on a Facebook group and find other people that like comics, and there they are. So yeah, it's I love that. I can only imagine what life would have been like in the 70s had we had the internet.
Oh yeah, yeah, be amazing. What is the most expensive comic book that you've held in your hands? Because I did. I worked at Thrifty Drugs, and I believe it was 1989. I walked by the comic book rack. It caught my attention. I looked at it, and I was 20 years old. So I looked at it, and I paged through it. This is damn creative. And I put it back on the rack. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1.
Yep.
What a dumbass.
I have held that one in my hand. My friend.
You as well, huh?
Actually, a buddy of mine read them.
It's worth a little bit of money now.
Yeah. When in high school, a buddy of mine, he had bought them and read them and brought it in and said, "Here, read this." Oddly enough, it's the same guy that kidnapped me to the movies today.
Oh,
okay. So this is
yes.
So so this is a long-term good friend, but yeah, the issue number 4 has been a thing. I own a Avengers 4 where Cap comes back. I have owned a Spider-Man 4. I did own an FF4. I think I still have that one. So I've had some of those. I don't have. They're not worth as much because mine have been well read.
Yeah.
I do own the first appearance of Silver Surfer and Galactus, but they're beat to hell. Actually, it was a funny story because I'm a big Fantastic Four fan.
Yes.
And I own everything from 29 up.
Okay.
So, but before it starts getting expensive below 29. I still own some sporadics, but there was a point where people knew I was collecting them, but they also knew I was poor. So I remember a comic dealer. These guys knew me because I saw them at shows all the time, bought books from them all the time. They got their hands on the first appearance of Galactus, and it was a really beat up copy that they still could have sold probably for 50, 60, 70 bucks.
Yeah.
But they knew I was a fan and would never be able to afford it, and sold it to me for like next to nothing because they were like, he goes, look, I could make a little more money off this, but I know what, this is going to make your day and you're going to love this book. And so yeah, wow. So that's probably one of the highlights of my collection. And also my collection, I don't collect them because I think they're going to be worth money.
Right.
It's rare for me to get rid of them. I collect what I like. There's a lot of great books that I don't. They're just not for me. But there's also, I also tie memory to things. I still own the first 3 comic books I bought or convinced my mother to buy. I still have them. I'm tied to that memory to those books. So even those books aren't worth a lot of money, they're priceless to me. And then talking about the beauty of Facebook and all, I got on this kick earlier in the year, since I was home shopping. I bought a lot of books, and so I found this. I wish I had it close. There was a Big Little books that I had as a kid. And I hadn't thought about this thing in years. And I ran across it on like a discount book site. and I bought it. It was really inexpensive, and I bought it. And I remember, but the memory of it, of where I remember where I was when I got it, what we were doing, and so that was awesome. So I posted on Facebook about this, and the writer saw it, and so the writer and I had this big back and forth about what the book meant to me from the time when I bought it, and what so that was really cool. So stuff like that is just that memory gets tied to a lot of my collectibles.
Yes, I agree. I only have 12 comic books. My brother, who's posting, thank you, Lewis, the one who I mentioned worked at Disneyland, he purchased an annual subscription to a comic book store, which is now closed. When you're talking about those memories, I get it, Bobby. I equate the same thing in every which way. I have those. He shared with me his collection. My brother has a much greater extensive library. He has Dark Horse comics, and he had the Alien, well, what some people call the Alien 3 before Alien 3. Yeah. Their take on the Alien story, which was really not bad.
Yeah, because they started out early. It's a nice black and white, and it ran. Yeah, it
really
ran,
good stuff. So you remember that?
Oh yeah.
I looked up. I have the start when Star Trek was reissued in the late 80s, early 90s. I have the first 12 because of my brother.
Yeah,
and I have those 12. Peter David wrote those.
Yeah, I worked in a comic shop right in like 89 and 90 after I graduated from high school. So I picked up a lot of stuff, but I also, again, a lot of it's the hunt and the joy of. I used to go around to like flea markets and thrift stores, and I still do from time to time find books, but I don't hunt comics as much as I used to because I just can't afford them. But I have runs of books that they're not popular, but it's like, oh, I have all of She-Hulk,
Oh yeah.
Nobody cares, but I do. I because there's that. So I found them all, and I was able to get that whole run, or I follow a lot of, sometimes I like a character. Like, you can't see it from. I have a bunch of comics that are in a closet somewhere, but in recent years I started getting collections, like the trades. So you can't see it, but like I've got like 4 bookshelves, along those walls over there that are just packed with trades and hardcovers of comics I liked. And but like I said, I got on this kick of tracking down books that I either always wanted, or I'm a big fan of where they would put the comics in like trade or mass market paperback size.
Yeah.
So I've gone and found most of those that I wanted.
Wow.
And so stuff like that's really cool. And so, but again, part of it's the hunt,
Yes.
Finding it. And so I love going to like old bookstores and looking around and seeing what you can find that's just, ooh, I didn't know I wanted this, but now that I've seen it, I've got to have it, so.
Yes, it is a lot of fun doing so. I've done that in the past. I still do it as well. And I have quite a few books that, I read as a kid, or I just knew of them and I wanted to get them. I actually held in my hands as well A Death in the Family.
Oh yeah, I have those.
I don't know why I purchased that one, so you know which I'm talking about.
Yep, I was reading. I remember that was a big deal because because of the call in to does he live, does he die?
Yeah,
and I was reading that monthly at the time, so I was getting it one issue at a time.
Yep,
and exactly I was in high school. Yeah, I was in high school, and that was when I really got into comics. Was in high school, and and good stuff, and just there's a lot of I have a lot of good memories of a lot of those books. And like one of the ones, there was a book called Night Vale, which was she was a sorcerer character. It was a horror and superhero, sorcery kind of thing that AC Comics put out when I was in high school. And I remember reading it, and I just fell in love with the character. And it was like 6 books up for, they've done more since then. But I remember I had this distinct memory of telling one of my buddies that I'm going to write her one day. And I did. I spent years submitting the character, stories to the publisher, nothing. 30 years later, I did write the character as a novel for a publisher that had licensed the character.
Yeah.
So I did get to write the character that I always wanted to write. So it took me 30 years, but I also then won an award for it. I won the creator and the publisher of the comic company liked the story so much that he did the cover for the novel. And I'm just like, you loved it so much, you could have had these years ago. But it's one of those things. It's just like, sometimes we get those bucket list items. I was on a panel. We were in Arkansas on a panel when the publisher announced that they had just got the license, and I remember calling dibs on the panel. Like, I interrupted the panel to go, I'll take this character. So yeah. So sometimes, again, it's that thing. It's like there's a love for what I do. I would write Captain America or Thor tomorrow if they offered. They're not going to, but if they did, I'd do it. I love those characters. There's a lot of characters I love, and getting to write in certain universes. There's a lot of fun there. So yeah, it's and you get to kind of check off some of those geeky childhood memories. Because I grew up, I wasn't creating my own stuff. It was just like, ooh, I like these characters. Let me come up with stories for them. And so, yeah.
It's wanting to play in the universe. You had the chance to do it.
Yep.
Michael, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go. And
we're done.
We're done.
It's like,
I'll sit here and talk all night. So,
well, no, I've noticed that we all have something. You're tired. Bobby has a cough, and I think I'm losing my voice.
Yeah.
So it's all good. We're gonna do this again, folks. It's just last time we did it, we had a blast. We went like 4 or 5 hours. I know we can do it. Oh, Bobby, but it's fun. You are fun at it. And I do want to give a quick shout out because we did get some likes at the very last. Luis Noriega, Tony Kanapka, Nefarious Ferrets, Dave Mack. I thank you. Yeah, and Ross, thank you.
Yes.
Look, we're going to have him back, and we're going to see what we're going to do. But for now, we're good. Folks,
if I didn't
see
get
his website.
If I didn't get to your questions, feel free to find me on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram and ask them there.
And there it is, BobbyNash.com. It has been fun again. Bobby, I can't wait to have you back on. And anytime you want to talk about any material or anything, you want to talk about a new book, project, you don't need our help, but we'd still love to help.
Take all the help I can get.
Hey, we'll take it. Folks, it's Bobby Nash. What a blast. Again. Oh, and yeah, you too, Michael.
Yeah.
No, I just know you're tired,
guy.
Michael.
Oh, wait, sorry, that guy.
Yeah, that one right there. Folks, want to thank everyone for visiting with us, both live and in the archive. We appreciate you. We thank you. We're eternally grateful. And next week, someone that Bobby may know, we kind of worked with a little bit, Vic Minona will be joining us next Monday. Or Mignana, I'm sorry.
Mignana.
You'll introduce him.
I'll introduce him, yes.
Yes,
That'll be next Monday.
Yes, I worked on one of the, I worked on a couple, I worked on one of the Star Trek Continues. You talk about one of the big thrills. You talk about writing in the universe. As cool as Farragut was in writing in the Star Trek universe, there was something really cool about putting words in Kirk, Spock, and McCoy's mouth.
Oh, yeah.
It just, and there's that thrill. There's like a moment in each thing, where like certain characters would say certain things, and in each one of them, like there's moments in Farragut that I still get chills watching because they say that line, and I know I wrote that line, but it resonates. Or, Star Trek Continues, they say that line. There's a good one, and
As a writer, to see your words that you wrote, spent time on, sweat over, and lost everything, and then you hear them and you see them.
Recently,
that's the ultimate.
I'll give you this real quick one before we go.
Sure.
Recently, I was hired to do, again, before the pandemic, so it all got postponed until recently. I was hired to adapt a couple of my short stories into full cast audio dramas. The first one came out 2 weeks ago, and listening to it was just, hearing them perform this story was just, So, get a big thrill out of that. That just,
It may not show, Bobby, but believe it or not, even though this is usual stick for us, having you on, it is a thrill when Michael says, hey, we got Bobby, we got Vic, we got so-and-so. It is, who are we that we have the privilege to spend time with you, because you're the real artist.
Part of that community, yes.
We just get to talk to you and have a good time, and we're privileged. So it is a lot of fun. I thank you for giving your time to us, to your community, and I can't wait to have another conversation because it is a blast.
Sounds good. All
Thanks,
right.
Michael. Thanks, Bobby.
All
No,
right.
go ahead,
All right.
Bobby.
I was just
Hey.
like, good night.
Yep, I was going to say, Bobby, take us away. For everyone else, peace. We'll see you guys on the other side.
Yeah, I can do that too.
All right, guys. Hasta.